Uh, I think we're live. Are we live or no? Yes, we are. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back in with another live stream, the second of today. And today we're doing a live reaction to Christie's presidential announcement. I thought this was a parody, but it's real. He has a website, and it's the scam. But yeah, he's doing a town hall event, and we're doing a live reaction to what should be a... I don't know what to say. I mean, why? And all you hear for the audio is this. Do you hear this? This is what I've been listening to for like 10 minutes now. This is some good sound, Christie. Your campaign's great. I mean... Oh my goodness. This is some great audio. I'm gonna turn this off before I go insane, dear Lord. But yeah, people are actually showing up to this thing. I'm scared that people are willing to show up. And half of them are related to him. Oh my goodness. The fact that people actually showed up for this, it is sad. I guarantee you, like, half of... Well, they're too old. Never mind. I was going to say that, like, all of them were required by, like, the college you go, but you can clearly tell these are older people. Now, before we continue with today's live stream, I hope you enjoy these type of streams. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the Twitter accounts in the description down below, and, of course, join the channel today. Hope everyone joins. Of course, if you want your questions for sure answered, make sure to send a super chat. It's the best way to get your question answered. Of course, I will be reading the live stream, the live chat, I should say. So, yeah. 67 people. I think we got more people watching than... Nope. Nope. We don't. Sad. I thought we had more people watching than Christie's stream. There's a couple more, but come on. Boost these numbers up. Smash the like button and share. Let's get more people watching the reaction to Christie's stream than there are watching this. Are they starting? No, they aren't. Man, these are some good beats. Christie's gonna roll into the podium. Oh man, this is gonna hurt my brain. That this is even remotely real. Wait, what's happening? I just got here. Am I missing anything? No, you just got former Governor Christie running for president. He's about to make his announcement. Save Edgar. Christie's built like Uncle Grandpa. Are we supposed to hear anything right now when you're unmuted? Yeah, sometimes it may, yeah. Let's see here. Guys, be quiet. This is the best part. Yeah, this is totally gonna be a fun stream that everybody's engaged with. I'm sure everybody's is totally here to listen to Christie. Sorry, I missed the stream earlier. I was off at work. Hope you're doing well, Rap. No problem. That was just an early stream. I did that for fun. Tried something different. But, yeah. Will Jeb run? No. Do you think Christie gets more than 4%? No. We don't hear anything Christie stream. You're not supposed to, because this is all you hear when you unmute. Man. Do you hear that? That's some good beats right there. Yeah, that you can't hear anything good. It's just nothing. It's fuzz. It's nothing. I'm just here for the memes and to laugh all of people. Rap, are there really Ron Johnson Evers voters over in Wisconsin? Yeah. Southwest Wisconsin. They're everywhere. Especially in southwestern Wisconsin. I do know an Evers, I know Michael's Barnes voter. I know one. Don't ask. Duster Carna for 2. Connecticut just banned open carry and is being sued for it. They just banned it? Really? I think the cringe counter should be 100. Don't worry. We're probably going to break it. Christie and DeSantis are dropping a collab album. One of the Dems in Ed Durr's district is named DeSantis. Are you freaking serious right now? There is more people watching this stream than there are in Christie's announcement. Yeah, there's like 50 people in that event. There's like 80. Trump will improve in the suburbs. Let's see. Shane Keena for 5. Chris Christie is literally the Leroy Jenkins of this election cycle. Yeah, I don't get why he's running. But sure. Christie's going to eat that cringe counter. We'll give him a chance. I just want to see how bad this gets. That's kind of, what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping this just ends horribly for Chris Christie. Oh, man. Why are you running, dude? Is there any long-term hope for the GOP in New Jersey? Some congressional districts there are. Half of the 50 are relatives of Christie. A couple of them look like him. I'm not going to lie. Oh my goodness, the Democrat running in the Durr's district is a Mario DeSantis. We live in a society if that's the case. The other half is the press. Yeah. But don't they all look like 80? Is it just me? Chris is a good debater, but bad in policy. I actually agree with that. Like, he is a good debater. He took out Marco Rubio just because he's a good campaigner, or good debater, but he sucks in policy. All right, where's this guy at? We were promised 6:30. It's 6:32. I want my money back. The guy in the red shirt is his brother. Maybe he's announced he's going to start going for runs. No, he apparently has a website up. I checked it. It's just a scam, but it exists. Let's see. Where's Snorlax Christie at? I don't know. Duster Carter for 2. How would the map look if Jebber Cruz won the 2016 nomination? Ooh. I would say red Virginia, but blue like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Something like that. Fox News is covering this? Bro, is Fox News that boring that they have to cover a Chris Christie announcement? I mean, what? Who vehemently thinks, yeah, Chris Christie in the year 2024 should be the next president? Oh my gosh, this chat's gonna be interesting. Christie's enjoying the free donuts. Yeah, what if he does all these town halls just because there's donuts? It sounds like he's here. No, I can't play this music. It's copyrighted. Bro, people are actually standing for this. I had to mute it for a second. Because the music's playing, and I don't know if it's copyrighted or not.
How are you? Good to see you.
I hear him.
How are you?
I see him.
Is he your brother?
Did he just say brother?
Robert. Hello, young man. You're like a media star now. Yeah.
There he is.
Guys, thank you.
He's walking.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. See you again.
So. Oops, sorry about that. Did you hear the stomping?
Thank you, everybody.
Here we go. 50 people showed up for this.
That we'd have to play Springsteen, right?
Okay, turn off. I gotta mute it because of the music. Okay.
About what you're going to get tonight. You're going to get some straight talk from New Jersey. I'm glad to be back here. And I have to tell you, it was not a layup that I'd be here. Far from it. If you had asked me a year ago whether I would be up here to talk to all of you about the future of our country and where we would go, I probably would have said to you, life's pretty good in New Jersey, and I think I'll stay down here.
He looks so awkward.
And let you all fight it out up here like you always do.
What is he doing?
Every 4 years.
I don't know.
And get a new crop of folks. come up here and talk to you. But I have to tell you, as I've watched the last year evolve,
you could see the
there's
microphone
been
like
just
right there.
one question that kept going back and back and back into my mind. And it was about our country and its future.
6% approval.
And I wondered
Yeah.
what our choice was going to be. Were we going to be small or were we going to be big? And let me tell you what I mean. I've watched our country over the last decade.
Did he really say that?
Seems to me get smaller and smaller. And smaller in every way.
We're going up already.
Smaller
Up to
in the way we
5.
talk to each other. Smaller in the way we look at each other. Smaller in the things that we
Looks
talk
like a
to
green
each other
screen.
about. Smaller in the issues that we cared enough to get angry about. The issues that we cared enough to get involved in. And I thought to myself, why do I continue to get this feeling that America, for the first time in its history, is getting smaller? And what I concluded is because we've had leaders who have led us.
Okay, we're going up some more, everybody. We're up to 10.
Small by their example. Small by the way they conduct themselves. Small by the things they tell us we should care about. Smaller and smaller. And they do it in other ways, too. They're making us smaller by dividing us.
Oh my gosh, we're
Into
skyrocketing.
smaller and smaller groups. And they sell to you that we should get into these smaller groups.
Oh my gosh.
Because we'll be more comfortable. See, because the smaller and smaller group you get into,
gosh.
then you're probably not going to hear
We're breaking the
anything you
count
disagree
already.
with. The smaller group you get into,
Oh my
you
god.
just watch the news that you want to hear. The smaller the group you get into,
He just keeps saying that. Are
the
you
less chances you'll ever
serious?
be offended by anything. See, this is not just a right problem. This is a right and a left problem. We just go about it from different ways. I'm not just talking about the leadership of my own party. I'm talking about the leadership of both parties.
Does he know?
Barack Obama made us smaller by dividing us.
Jesus, he goes
Trying to
on
make
about
sure that
going
his party-
smaller.
Was divided into smaller pieces so
Jesus.
that he could lead the small pieces that he wanted to.
Oh my gosh, shut up about small.
And Donald Trump made us smaller by dividing us even further and pitting one group against another, different groups pitted against different groups every day. And by definition,
This is
making those
awful.
groups smaller.
Stop it,
Because
please.
Even when you're talking to those small groups, you're going to say something that offends them. And the leader, instead of
It just
trying to
keeps
bring
going.
people together, says it's okay to leave. It's okay to go. Move to another group that you agree with even more, which by definition will be even smaller.
Is that Mike Pence?
And now Joe Biden is doing the very same thing, just on the other side of the political divide. He ran promising us that he was going to bring the country together, that he was going to unite us,
If you actually
that
believed
he was going to
him,
bring a new sense of unity to the United States. And instead, what he decided to do
I don't know what's even
was
happening.
to take his groups and divide them even smaller and actively
Shut
pit them against
up, please.
Republicans. To paint all Republicans with just one brush, even though all of you in this room who may be Republican like me knows that there isn't just one brush to paint our party with.
We got a super chat. Dustin Carter for 2. He literally has less charisma than DeSantis. Yeah, this is bad.
You turn
Sorry
on a
about that.
news show and you hear things that come back to you that you agree with. You probably smile. Maybe you nod. You go to dinner parties where only the people that you agree with are around the table. There's
Yeah,
no
why is
argument.
his hand in the pocket?
Everybody agrees. You go to a college or a university where you see people who only agree with you, professors who only agree with you, And you learn only
No
the
wonder
things
he's getting below zero
you
in
already
Napoleon.
know. See, that's not the America that I grew up in. And if you look back at our history, when we have had
Why
great
is his
leaders,
pocket in there?
at every pivotal moment in our history, there was a choice between small and big.
Shut up,
America
please.
became the most different, the most successful, the most fabulous life for the rest of the world in the history because we always picked big.
Why can you show the video on this one? Because it's streamed on YouTube.
1776.
It's right on YouTube, so I can.
There were so many people in the Continental Congress
is
who
pulling
argued
below zero.
against independence, said, let's just make a deal with the king. I'm sure he'll lower those taxes a little bit.
Christie support
Maybe he'll let us elect a few people who can say some things. We don't have to go to war for our independence.
Jesus.
But thank God for all of us who are sitting here right now that George Washington and John Adams and Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin and Alexander Hamilton and Benjamin
Is this
Rush
campaign
said,
slogan going
no,
big?
we're going big.
If this was 2012, he could have won.
We
He
want
would have
a
won.
country of our own. We know that true liberty is a gift from God, and the only way to accept that gift is to be independent, to be able to govern ourselves, to have the miracle
Everyone looks bored.
that
Yeah,
so
I
few
think they were
people in this
paid.
world have ever had to choose for
they were paid.
themselves their own form of government, how they were going to be governed. Imagine if we had gone small.
Don't know.
We'd all have British accents, everybody. We'd all have British accents today.
Boo.
Some of us watched the coronation of King Charles III. All of us would have been required to if we had gone small.
We're up to 100. Jacked up by 25
And then
immediately.
You had 1861, when the country and many people in it literally
Who
wanted
wrote
to
this?
make
I
it
don't
smaller.
know. For sake, mate.
They wanted to divide it in half because we disagreed. We disagreed on some fundamental issues like slavery, like how the federal government interacts with the state governments, and who should really be in charge.
Honestly, who cares? I mean,
And if we had had
what's
a
set to
small
do with
leader
2024? For Pete's
sitting
sake.
in the White House in 1861, we would not have become the greatest continental country the world has ever seen.
It's smaller.
And who knows how that would have ended. But it would not
I
have
care
ended
about current events. Yeah,
with a country
like if you're
as
referencing
vast
something, fine. But
and
what does
great
this matter?
and rich and free as it is now. Because Abraham Lincoln said, a house divided against
Saul
itself
Goodman for 2.
cannot
Add a bigger
stand.
/ smaller counter.
And he knew
The
when he
cringe
said it,
counter works, but yeah, we
that he was
should.
going to cause the death of citizens
Where
all
is it?
throughout this country. The greatest loss of life in any American war, the Civil War, when we killed each other. But Lincoln knew
Oh, hold on.
that in the choice between a smaller America and
Oh
a
my
bigger
Jesus,
America,
dude,
that
shut
any
up
sacrifice
about
was worth
small.
it to make America bigger. He made that choice.
Ben
and he
said it's
gave
for
his
2.
life
I prefer listening to
for that
Biden of all
choice.
people. At least he's
That's
funny. He can be funny
great
at
leader.
times. This is just awful.
And in 1917, when Europe was at war and dictatorships were taking over the entire continent, and America had followed the admonition of George Washington since its founding to stay out of foreign entanglements, Woodrow Wilson said no. If America allows Europe to go under dictatorship, we will be next. And we don't want to do this.
Bro, what?
We want America to be big
Jesus, my dude.
influential.
We're like 40.
and free. We need to do it. And Franklin Roosevelt said the same thing 24 years later. When Hitler and Mussolini and Hirohito
These people are delusional.
decided
You
that
think?
dictatorship was what was going to rule the world, and
Yeah,
Roosevelt
the guy pulled out his phone.
and the rest of America said no and sent hundreds and thousands of our men to Europe and to the Pacific. because they said America is better than this, and we're going to help the world be better.
I'm pretty sure he praised like Woodrow Wilson.
Imagine what would have happened. We know what would have happened if America had pulled away and decided to go small.
We're like at 60, I think. Oh my dude.
Europe would have been dominated by Germany, by totalitarianism and Holocaust.
Let's be real here. What? That's World War II.
Who knows what would have happened next?
That's World War II. Wait a minute.
With a Germany that ran all of Europe.
Time out. Did he reference Woodrow Wilson from World War II instead of World War I? What?
And 20 years later, John Kennedy.
Okay, he meant World War II. That's fine.
And said,
okay. I thought he meant World War I.
Absolutely nothing to base it on other than his belief in us that we're going to the moon. And we're going to the moon before the end of the decade. We didn't have a rocket. We didn't even know what an astronaut was. I'm confident he didn't.
Yeah, we did.
So how could he possibly have been
the Soviets got people in space already.
He was that audacious because he was an American
He's talking about World War II, yeah. That's what I thought. I thought he was talking about World War I for a second.
Watched all those examples before him and knew his history. Wrote a book called Profiles in Courage about courageous leaders in this country. And what did he do? He put us on that path, even though he wasn't there to see it to its conclusion. We would have never gotten there if John Kennedy would have thought small.
I don't care, dude.
Would have not believed in the American people. Would not have believed in our ingenuity and our industry and our faith and our hope. And then 20 years after that.
Oh my God, I don't care about the history of the United States, my dude.
That the United States should just coexist with the Soviet Union. That we shouldn't care that they dominate Eastern Europe. We shouldn't care that they kill their own people. We shouldn't care that they starve them. We shouldn't care that they do that to everyone else that they dominate in Eastern Europe.
Is he going to bring up Bush next?
We should just survive.
I'm pretty sure he's going to bring up Bush.
And Ronald Reagan said, they are an evil empire. And America stands up against evil. We fight evil anywhere in the world to prevent evil from becoming a part of us.
He didn't get involved in anything, though. It's peace through strength.
And it was Ronald Reagan who in 8 years went from pronouncing that on the front of the Capitol in his inaugural address to watching from his home in California.
Every single one of these people got paid.
The Berlin
Is
Wall
that Joe Biden? No, it isn't.
All of Eastern
It looked like
Europe
Biden for a second.
was made
right
free
behind
again.
him.
All throughout our history, there have been moments when we've had to choose between big and small.
Oh my Jesus, dude.
And I would tell you the reason I'm here tonight is because this is one of those moments. And you see it everywhere.
He took his hand out of the pocket. I see his other hand.
We have candidates for president who say, we shouldn't care about what's happening in Ukraine. We shouldn't care that Russia wants to take a free and freedom-loving country and put it back under its
It's
thumb.
none of our business. It shouldn't matter who we want to win. We should be promoting peace. It should be peace through strength.
We have candidates for president who are talking about issues that are so small that sometimes it's hard to even understand them. But let me tell you why they're talking about those small issues. For the very same reason that leaders who are pretenders have always talked about small issues, to divide you further and to make it easier for them to rule over you. The more divided we are, the more likely we are to be dominated by a single leader.
At least, you know,
we fought against that.
The only positive about this announcement is we get to see how cringe some of these people can get.
And as I sat in our
only
home
positive
in Mendham, New Jersey, living a very comfortable existence. Now, I want to make clear that after 8 years of being a Republican governor in New Jersey, any existence would be comfortable. So this is not a high standard, but it was a bar that we were clearing every day.
Dude, what are you even talking
Mary
about?
Pat and I said to each other, we can't sit by and watch this. We cannot sit by and watch this happen.
It goes back in the
Big
pocket.
argument in our country right now
dude.
about whether character matters. And we have leaders who have shown us over and over again that not only are they devoid of character,
I honestly want to see a
but
debate
they
between
don't
Christie
care.
and Biden.
And they tell you you shouldn't care. Just look at what results I produce.
Yeah,
There's some fiction in that,
Trump's
too,
the best
and we'll
president
talk
we've
about
had
that
since
tonight.
Ronald Reagan. Easy.
But the Greeks said character is destiny.
More history.
And if you think about the stuff I just talked about,
we're talking about world history now.
at every one of those moments, we had men and women of character to make the big versus
Do
small
you think
decisions.
Liz Cheney will run? Probably third party.
Whether we agreed with them politically or not, Washington and Adams and Jefferson.
Yeah, Christie's
Franklin,
website immediately
Hamilton
demanded your money.
were
No
men
issues.
of character, as was Abigail Adams, a woman of character.
Trump is better than Reagan.
Who told
I know.
John
I'm
Adams
just saying,
what to do
like,
most
Trump's
of
been
the
the
time.
best president in decades.
If you read
Easy.
their letters.
Is this guy drunk?
And if George Washington
He must
had
have
not
watched Drunk
destroyed
History
all his letters
beforehand.
between he
That's
and
my
Martha,
only
I
guess.
suspect we may have found the same thing about him, which just shows you.
No.
That's why Washington was the first president and Adams was second. That's just a little smarter.
Boo!
Whether it's him, those folks, or Lincoln and his team of rivals that ran the government during the Civil War, or Wilson, or FDR, or JFK,
Gosh, get to
or
the
Ronald Reagan.
point.
These were men of character. We can't dismiss the question of character anymore, everybody.
I didn't ask for a history
we
lesson.
do-
I did either.
We get what we deserve. And we will have to own it. So let's talk about candidates for a second.
Oh gosh, here we go.
I just will tell you this, that if you are in search of the perfect candidate, it is time to leave.
Bro.
I
Who
am
says
not it.
that?
And not only am I not the perfect candidate, I'm far from the perfect person.
So what's your point?
I've lived a life at 60 years old now that have had enormous,
He doesn't look that
enormous
old,
highs,
honestly.
honors and
But
privileges.
you made a big
that as
deal.
child,
You made
I
a
could
big
have
deal about like
never,
character.
Ever imagined meeting the Queen of England,
Ben Siddix for 2. Yes,
Traveling
Wilson, a
around the
renowned man
world.
of character.
to meet leaders of
I can't
heads
mention on
of state
YouTube.
in the Middle East and in Europe, to have the opportunity to lead my state through the worst natural disaster that it ever had, and have people come up to me during Hurricane Sandy when I would see them.
And this is what would have made him
And
a
they
good
would say to
president.
me,
He had good leadership, but he screwed
Thank
it
God
up.
you haven't forgotten us.
Henry IX for
Those
2.
moments
FDR was a
that
damn
you had
socialist.
become that significant
Yeah, so
in those
why are you
people's
praising
lives
him?
that they believed that you could get them out of the worst moment of their lives is the highest high you could ever have as a public official. And I've had them.
This is garbage. That is
But I
true.
also have made mistakes. I've made judgments at times that were wrong.
What?
And I've trusted people I shouldn't have trusted. And it resulted in me being, at one point in my career, admitting that I was publicly embarrassed and humiliated by the things that had happened on my watch.
This is stupid. Why are you running then?
And those are days when you wonder whether it was worth it to do this. But I will tell you, there's never been a day where
Is
those
that
great
dude
moments
recording the entire thing on the bottom right?
are the thing that got me out of bed, or those horrible moments
Cole Langdon
or
for
something
5.
that kept
Someone
me
should
in.
tell Christie that when he steps back, he gets smoked.
What got me out of bed every day was that in public leadership in this country, you have a chance to do something great every day. You give men like me
How
a
long has
chance
this been
to do
going
something
for?
great every day.
How long has he
And
been
that's what gets me out of bed.
speaking?
That's what got me out of
20
bed
minutes.
for those years on the good days
Jesus.
and the bad days. And when I made those mistakes, I admitted them. See, because I think what true leaders
Who's
do
cringier?
is
Hannity
not
or
try to
Christie?
pretend to
Christie.
you that we're perfect. Because we're human just like
Seems
you.
like he forgot to write a speech.
Because
He's a good
in our
public
country,
speaker, but what
in our
is
democracy,
this?
we are no better and no worse than any of you. We argue.
Yeah, I don't know what's
We
even
argue.
happening, honestly.
And if your leaders are not willing to admit to you that they're fallible, that they make mistakes, that they hurt like you, that they bleed like you,
There's no way Fox is still
and that they
covering this.
suffer disappointment
Hold on, I could check right now.
and letdowns,
How much would I bet they are?
beware. Beware of the leader in this country
He's
who
gonna
you
lose
have handed
with 1%.
leadership to.
He's gonna get below
who
zero.
Has never
like
made
Trump
a mistake.
said.
Who has never done anything wrong. Who, when something goes wrong, it's always someone else's fault.
Yes.
And
I
who
want a
has never
president like
lost.
that. Oh my gosh, they still have the announcement going. Fox, what
lost.
are you doing?
You people did that to me in 2016.
What?
All of you. And I have 2 of my children here tonight who remind me of that all the time.
That political guy for 5,
They
Ron
said, you're
Paul
going
would have
back to
destroyed
New
Christie
Hampshire.
on
They
debate
beat
stage
you.
in 2012, like father, like son. I agree.
But beware of
But
the leader
Christie was
who won't
a good
admit
debater.
any of
He
those
should have been the nominee in
shortcomings.
2012.
Because
That's
you
what
know
I'll say.
what the problem is with a leader like that? A
Yeah,
leader
Ron Paul
like
would have
that
destroyed
thinks
Christie.
America's
Thank you so much for the
greatness
super chat.
resides in the mirror he's looking at. I believe
Yeah,
that
we're out
America's
of the cringe
greatness
counter.
resides out there among all of you. And that any of us who get the opportunity to serve are merely temporary stewards of that greatness who just want an
Don't
opportunity
worry, we're only 20 minutes
to
in.
make it a little bit greater.
Crispy isn't going to
And
even
if you
1%. He's
can't
below
admit
zero.
to the people you want to lead,
Okay, we're shutting you up for a second. Dustin Connor for 2. Which president historically is better than Trump? George Washington. That's kind of an easy one.
lead will always be the ones who are blamed when anything goes wrong, that they'll be called names,
Among Us.
that they'll be dismissed, and that after they leave your service, they're nothing but idiots.
Chrissy Hutchinson 2024.
Beware. Because that leader not only will not serve you, they will not be able to find anybody who will serve them.
My goodness, just
And
get to the
a
point.
lonely, self-consumed, self-serving mirror hog
Says you!
is not
Wait a
a
minute.
leader.
Bro.
And so now we have pretenders all around us who want to tell you, pick me, because I'm kind of like what you picked before.
So what's
But
your
not
argument?
quite as crazy,
You really think
but I don't want to say his
Whatever.
name because for these other pretenders, he is, for those of you who read the Harry Potter books, like Voldemort.
What?
He is
Hold
he
up.
who shall not be named.
Are you freaking serious right now?
Well, let me be clear, in case I have not been already. The person I am talking about, who is obsessed with the mirror,
That's
who
you.
never admits a mistake, who never admits a fault,
Oh my
and
Jesus.
who always finds someone else and something else to blame for whatever goes wrong, but finds every reason to take credit
Block the
for
video.
anything that goes right, is Donald Trump.
You dumbass. There's your 1% down the
if we
toilet.
don't have that conversation with
Okay, we're
you,
muting this part. This is
we
stupid.
don't.
Let's see here. Riley the Mini donation for 5. I like how your states will trend video. Can you do more future of particular cities video like you did with Houston and Dallas? Yeah, I'm going to. I'm just a bit busy right now. All right, back to the stream.
Gonna end with this. I read
a new book.
A great quote from
what is this?
A letter
Christie?
that John Adams wrote to Abigail Adams during the beginning of the Revolutionary War.
Could this tell me
He asked him in a letter to him, what did he think was going to happen? Were we going to win?
Cringe
and his
counter
response
broke.
to her was,
don't worry, it's increasing.
I can't guarantee success in this war, but I can guarantee something better, that we deserve it. So I'll say to you tonight,
this is awful,
that I can't guarantee you success in what I'm about to do.
Oh, God.
But I guarantee you that at the end of it, you will have no doubt in your mind who I am and what I stand for and whether I deserve it. So that's why I came back to St. Anselm's, and that's why I came back to Manchester, and that's why I came back to New Hampshire to tell all of you that I intend to seek the Republican nomination for President of the United States in 2024, and I want your
support. Boo! Look, nobody's excited about this. Look at this. Nobody's excited. They're just all pretending to clap like barely.
Thank you.
We're up to 600. Christie, what are you doing?
All right, so now we'll do what I like to do much more than that. You know, when I was governor of New Jersey, I did over 150 town hall meetings in my first 4 years as governor.
Please
and then
clap.
I came up here and I did another 100. And so, just so you know, this is my favorite stuff. To find out what you're thinking, what's on your mind, and to be able to try to answer you honestly and directly.
Please clap.
And let you critique it as you walk out tonight.
This is awful.
I want everybody to feel free to ask whatever question they want to ask, and I'll try to give you the best answer I possibly can. But
finally, we're getting questions.
Please never forget this. I am from New Jersey. So I am always interested.
Just for that, we're going up 100.
Polite, but intense conflict.
All right, I'll give it to him.
So I'm happy to go back and forth with anybody
tonight.
New
Jersey, I'll give it to him. That was good.
With guys from New Jersey, what you need to know, and women, is that if you give it, you're getting it back. And that's the way we engage. So before I take your first question, I do want to do one other thing. I talked throughout the beginning of this about we.
You're still going?
And we have been the same we for the last 37 years. And despite all odds against it, she's still here. My wife, Mary Pat. Stand up.
Get to the point. Now he's both hands in the
pocket. For all of
pockets.
you who have more than one child, we have 4. Once they get to the ages of 30, 27, 22, and 20, if you can get any of them to come to anything you're doing, you are incredibly lucky. So I am lucky times 2 tonight. I have our oldest son, Andrew, and our oldest daughter, Sarah, here with us tonight as well.
Please clap. Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it felt like for a second. Please clap.
And I'll tell you, beside being asked about Mary Pat, the second
what that
person
dude
I
take
get
a
asked
picture
about
of?
all the time when
Left
I come
corner.
back up here,
that dude
because
took a
apparently
picture
he
of
made
his
such an
back.
impression when he came up here
And then
8
quickly hit
years
it.
ago at the age of 82 to go door to door. Big upset, everybody. He's still here. And he will still be going door to door, I suspect, here in New Hampshire. So get ready for this guy, my amazing 90-year-old father to come knock on your door, and you can't say no once he gets to 90. So, Dad, Bill Christie, thanks for being here tonight.
Okay, I'm good then. That's pretty neat. Okay.
All right, who's got the first question? Right there.
Oh,
I am ready, and they're going to bring you a microphone.
here we go.
The question is, are you ready?
Look, they're sharing pictures.
Let's go.
I'm from
Look at
Christie,
that.
back to Spain.
Excellent. No, that's good. That's
Behind
good
them, you
competition.
shared pictures.
But I live in New Hampshire. My name is Laura Landerman Garber, and I'm going to say this up front. I'm a clinical psychologist of 40 years. All right? So, given that, I want to read this because I want to get it right. It seems to me that our amazing nation has actually been traumatized by all the divisive screaming, yelling that has been happening in politics and in elections. I would say, as a psychologist, that we've been traumatized as a nation. I want to know how you're going to take that to the White House. You have a forceful, I'll call it strong, approach to things. Look at him, he raises his eyebrows. I can do that too.
They're all pre-canned, aren't they?
So can you address that now?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? We're in trouble.
Yeah, we are. And I think it's a great question, and I think you're right that trauma has been thrust on our country in a number of different ways. And see, I don't think that the American people are traumatized by strength. They're traumatized by chaos. The American people aren't traumatized by being direct. The American people are traumatized by lying. I don't think the American people are traumatized by somebody who is going to be forceful. I think they're traumatized by someone who only cares to be forceful for themselves. See, when I used to fight about things in New Jersey, and my Democratic opponents used to say all the time, they used to call me a bully all the time. They polled that, and they said, like, if we can get him to be seen as a bully, his numbers will go down. But what we found was that people said, yeah, he's a bully for us. See,
that plug
I
guy
think
for
it depends on where you
$5.
direct that
What
strength.
did you send?
If you direct that strength to
You just immediately
aggrandize
retracted it.
yourself,
If that was an accident, that's
if
I
you
don't know.
direct
But
that
what was that
chaos
What was that?
to aggrandize yourself, if
Weird
you
super
direct
chat, I think.
the anger to benefit yourself, well, then you're traumatizing a nation. If you harness our energy, our anger, our concerns, our disappointments, our hopes, our aspirations, and you put the force of a personality behind it for the betterment of the whole country, that's leadership. And so I don't think we need some
he just announced.
weak person in the White House who will be mealy-mouthed and not speak and not lead. I think we got that already. Okay? We have that now. And look, I've known Joe Biden for 40 years.
That explains
I went
a lot.
to the University of Delaware. I was the president of the student body there when he was a United States Senator. He's a nice guy. I've known him for 40 years. He's a nice man. He is out of his depth.
This is how you lose an election.
Because he's not the guy he used to be. And I'm going to be honest with all of us. We know this. I know it for me, and there's lots of people in this audience that know it. Father Time always wins. He always wins. And he's not what he used to be. So we don't need someone timid, quiet, who's not speaking to us regularly in the White House. But by the same token, we don't need someone whose entire life is defined by never admitting you're wrong.
You said that my super chat was, to be fair, Christie got some cake in the back. Okay, I can see why, but I'm not going to finish the rest of that, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yourself. And that's why I talked to you about what I did near the end of my talk. I've made mistakes. I've made bad judgments. I'm human. But none of my mistakes, none of my judgments were ever meant to aggrandize me. They were a decision that I made about a public policy that was wrong, or a judgment I made about a person that turned out to be wrong.
What
And
does
what
that
I
have to do
always
with the
would say
question?
is, even if I'm not directly responsible, I'm accountable because I'm the leader. And what we need is
He
someone
still
who's
has his hand in the
strong
pocket.
and accountable. And someone who's going to look at this country and say, you're not perfect, I'm not perfect, but we are better than any place else in the world, and we better get back to aspiring to that rather than worrying about dividing each other into groups that we agree with all the time. So I agree with you that traumas happen, but I don't think it's strength. That's faux strength.
Bro, don't you
That
like
is
argue,
faux
like
strength.
fight people in
That's built
streets in
out
New
of
Jersey?
an
Did he do that?
absolute lack of confidence.
Christie's known for loudly arguing with people in public. That's
And
what I
it's
thought.
damaging to everyone, starting with the person who's doing it who can't see it or didn't care to, and to everybody else who that person's supposed to be leading. And that's why we're in the traumatic situation we're in now, because we've gone from chaos and constant yelling, screaming, blaming to now quiet. And the divisions now are happening more quietly, but they're still happening. So that's the way I would consider leading now, which is to show your strength, but to show your humanity. And to let people know that I know I'm not always going to be right. I know I'm not. But what you're going to know about me is that every day, I'm not only trying to be right, I'm trying to be right for you. Thank you.
That was awful.
They're going to bring you a microphone.
Thank you, Governor. My name is Quinn Mitchell. I'm 15 years old. And last week I went to a DeSantis event. And while going in, I saw a huge group of Trump supporters flag waving. And it really highlighted what a division there was in the party. Like, for example, you would never see Klobuchar supporters doing that to Warren supporters in 2020. So my question for you is, how will you win over Trump voters who are so attached to one charismatic man, considering you don't seem to be appealing to the larger Republican voters? Thank you.
What was his question?
Well, I'm not nearly as pessimistic as you are.
Bro, that was awful.
And after saying that, I'm glad you're 15 and you can't vote.
Bro.
But despite that, in 3 years you will be voting. And I intend to seek your vote for my re-election as president in 2028.
Dude, you're not going to get anything.
So we'll start right now. Look, there is no such thing as Trump voters. He doesn't own them.
What?
He didn't take title to them.
Did he just
They're
say
not one
that?
of his buildings. They're not one of his
There's
failed
no
casinos
Trump
in New
voters?
Jersey. Okay?
Okay,
They're
we're up
not
to
that
1,000.
wrecked.
We
He's
broke
got
in,
Las
everybody.
Vegas.
First
Okay?
time ever.
He doesn't own them. They voted for him. By the way, I voted for him twice. Okay? Am I a Trump voter then? Hell no, man. Okay? Elections in the United States of America are not about anything other than a choice. I tried to explain this one time when Mary Pat and I had the opportunity to go over to Great Britain.
His
to
campaign's
visit with
done.
Prime Minister Cameron at 10 Downing Street, and he was getting ready to start his.
I gotta mute this. This is ridiculous. Dustin Carter for 2. Do these people really think they have a shot or money? They're doing this for money.
Days. You're not allowed legally to campaign before 48 days before the election. You can only campaign in those 48 days, and there's election. He looked at me, and he came in. Mary Pat, remember, he came in having come off the treadmill. And he was like, and I'm like dressed like this. I'm like, I'm meeting the prime minister. And he comes literally in gym shorts and a sweaty T-shirt. And he's like, sorry, but the campaign's going to start soon. I have to be working out. I'm like, no problem, Mr. Prime Minister. He said to me, explain your country to me. You guys are already doing this. It was 2015, in the early part of 2015. He said, how do you do this? I hate doing it for 48 days. How are you going to do it for a year and a half? And I said, remember this about the American political system, everybody. In America, we don't get to vote for who we want to vote for. We get to vote for who's left.
What?
We get to vote for who's left. Okay, so Trump voters are Trump voters in 2016 when their choice was among 17 of us, and then when it was Trump or Hillary Clinton. A Trump voter in 2020 in the Republican Party, he had no competition.
I mean, he
So
did. Bill Weld, he had 2%
They
of
vote
the
for him,
vote.
and they stay home. And then in the fall, you were a Trump voter or a Biden voter, and Joe Biden won the election. So I don't understand this concept of Trump voters. Yeah, they had people outside waving flags on me too tonight. Let me tell you something. For a guy from New Jersey, it's like being home, baby.
What?
It's like being home. Like, if I would walk up to a town hall in New Jersey and there were no protesters, I was like, get me the hell out of here. I am not going to be able to stay awake during this
This
thing.
is awful. Shane Keena for 2. Say goodbye to Gen Z and millennials, Christie. Yeah, that's you don't insult voters like that.
Sure. Is to do what I just did and make the case I can make. And if someone in here was a Trump voter 4 years ago, maybe this time they say, let me give this guy a shot, or let me give one of the other candidates a try. I don't think he owns them. He thinks he owns them. He thinks he owns them. Okay? But let me guarantee you something. He thought he owned the general
1500. We're breaking the barriers.
And what did they show him in 2020? Not so fast. Not so fast. So, I don't have a specific strategy.
He lost by 40,000 votes.
I got advice from one of President Trump's former chiefs of staff.
That explains a lot.
I said, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And he said to me, for you, be yourself. And that's exactly what I'm going to be. And like Adam said to Abigail, I can't guarantee success.
Shut up about history lessons, my guy.
I guarantee something better. You deserve it. I'm going to give you a campaign.
DJ Aftershock for 2, Christie more like Chris
whether you would decide to vote for me or not, if you could.
Well, you
I still have hope
him.
for you. You're going to say he made me think. He made me think. And that's the first step towards getting somebody's respect.
That poor kid. Yeah,
I want you to think about the last time Donald Trump made you think.
What?
He sure has.
He's the only one bringing up
sir,
issues
right
that matter.
Yep.
Governor Christie.
It was him. I'll get to you next.
Governor Christie, Kurt Wright from Burlington, Vermont, so we've got our own problems there.
Yeah, Kurt, you do.
But I want to let you know, because I'm from Burlington, it wasn't my fault.
All right.
But let's talk some policy. Governor Christie, we just had the debt ceiling deal in Washington.
This is actually a good question.
A lot of people on the farther right didn't like the deal, and a lot of people on the farther left didn't seem to like the deal. And Governor DeSantis also seems to have trashed the deal. I haven't heard so much from Donald Trump yet, I don't think about it, but I'd like to hear what your thoughts were on the debt ceiling deal. Do you think Kevin McCarthy got enough? What do you think of that deal?
Well, thank God they did it.
Bro.
Look, governing is about choosing, and governing is about compromising. When did compromise
What did we get out of it?
Look, if we don't want compromise, set up a dictatorship, put the dictator in charge.
Oh my.
He or she'll make all the decisions, and then we won't have to ever worry about compromising. We make it
Where
trampled.
was the compromise?
But we won't have to worry about compromising, thank God. Hey, look, are there things that I would have done differently? Sure.
Never mind.
Sure, there's some things I might have done differently. But I'm not going to trash Kevin McCarthy over this. He had a responsibility. Let's remember what the debt ceiling is, everybody. It's not future spending. It's money we already spent. Are we going to pay the bills we already ran up?
You dumbass.
And I'll tell you a great
Good
Donald
luck
Trump
winning
aside
Iowa.
on this. When I
Or New
became
Hampshire.
governor of New Jersey, we had an $11 billion deficit on a $29 billion budget. And we had pension and benefit debt of over $300 billion. And my friend Donald Trump called me, and he said, here's what you do. Don't pay it. He said, Chris, go bankrupt. I said, Donald, the law doesn't allow states to go bankrupt. He said, screw it, fight it out in the courts. Don't pay it. You're never going to be able to fix all this. So
California's
just let
gone
the
bankrupt
debt
like
go.
50 times in Illinois.
That's not leadership. That's not leadership. And everybody who says they hate the debt deal, they can tell me what particular parts they don't like, but they need to tell me how they would have gotten it done.
All of
Let
it.
me
There's
tell you what
nothing
would
good
happen
about
to
it.
everybody in this room, me included, if they didn't do it. The economy would have cratered. We already have a bank
What
crisis
did we
going
get
on.
out of it?
You think we have one now. Wait until you see what would happen if we defaulted on the debt. Wait till you see what would happen to our ability to trade around the world. Look at what would have happened to your 401ks and your IRAs and your college funds for your kids. It would have been a disaster. So governing is choosing. And see, I think Governor DeSantis doesn't like it because Governor DeSantis never had to compromise. When he was in the House of Representatives, he was in the Freedom Caucus.
Yeah, but you got nothing
and
out of
he
it.
just said either hell yes or hell no. And as governor of Florida, he had a Republican legislature who would do whatever he wanted. So you never have to compromise.
Again, what was
I had a
compromising
Democratic
about it?
legislature for
I don't
8
get it.
years every hour of 8 years. Every minute of 8 years.
Buffet champion.
And I had to make a fundamental decision. Is on a particular issue 60% enough? Is 70% enough? Can I live with 40% this time in order to get something done and move the ball down the field? And by the way, that's how we capped property taxes at 2%.
Oh my goodness, bro.
That had averaged 7% increase for the 10 years.
Like anybody gives a shit what you did in New Jersey 20 years ago,
$150 billion on our pension and health benefits system because I compromised with the Democrats. Would I have liked to fix the whole $300 million problem? I would have. But guess what? I retired half of the problem. Is that a failure? Under that definition, it is. So look, I'm not going to be one of those guys, if I become president of the United States,
they're falling asleep.
Who is going to go in and say, my way or the highway, it's got to be what I want every day, and if it's not, I'm going back to the Oval Office, holding my breath, and ignoring you. Now, you all know me.
Are you sure about that?
I'm not going to fight. I'm going to fight every day until the minute I think we've reached the time where compromise isn't going to happen. But that's how you negotiate.
No.
Like, if you went into your boss and you said, I'd like a 10% raise. And your boss said, oh, I don't really think we can do that. I can only do 2%. And you said, okay, goodbye.
Yes,
and you walked out.
Exactly do that.
You didn't fight. Well, you ain't going to get 2%. But if you said, well, I don't know, about 2 is just much too low. Would you maybe get to 7? And then the boss comes back and says, well, I might be able to get to 4. Man, you know what I'm seeing? Here comes 6, baby. I'm getting 6. And you have tripled what the boss originally offered you. Under the definition of some people on the left wing of the Republican or the Democratic Party,
you don't see
and some of the people on our party, that's a loss.
It is. We had nothing.
I got to criticize Kevin McCarthy. I wasn't in the negotiations. I can't tell whether he could have squeezed a little more out or whether he had reached the end. But what I do know is he knew that if he failed, that the American economy would fail.
Bro.
Yes, he did. He said we should default. And that's why I told the story. That's not news, baby. He told me to default in 2010.
Good. Wait, that was before he even ran.
I can't do this against the law. He said,
Who
fight in the
freaking
courts.
cares what he said 15 years
ago?
Go,
oh, for God's sake, Chris, don't be stupid, just default.
Yes.
Now, look, that's not leadership, everybody. It's just not. And when he was just a developer at Trump Tower in New York City calling and giving me advice, who cares?
Then why talk to him?
He's one of thousands of people who would give me advice, and it's my job to
Increase
decide.
cringe,
but
yep.
when you put him in the chair to decide, and you know that's what he thinks, get ready. Get ready for bad things to happen. And that's what happened.
Is Phil Scott to run for president? No.
He's gonna bring you Mike.
Where is this, New Hampshire?
Ted Tykert from Andover, Massachusetts. I only came here to get a job in your cabinet when you get elected. Not if, but when you do.
Well, that started early.
And I want to get a picture with Mary Pat, and I got that done already, too.
Good job.
But actually, what have you learned since the last time you ran for president?
What?
What have I learned since the last time I ran for
Because
president?
we want to help you.
Look, there's a lot. The first thing I learned is motion isn't progress. So, people tell you to do all these different things, and sometimes it's just because they like to see you do all those different things. But they're not making you any more electable.
Yeah, Trump is going to kick his ass in debate.
I think I'm much more experienced about how to do this now. And what really matters in being able to get the job done. Every endorsement doesn't matter. Okay? Last time, I was obsessed with all the endorsements. And I got more local endorsements than any candidate in the race. And I came in 6th. So I don't know.
Yeah,
my common sense tells me maybe not that important. Maybe I spent too much time on that. Maybe the 5th meeting with a member of the New Hampshire House to get his or her endorsement may have been a little bit.
Read that again. That political guy for 2, Chris Simp.
Thing I learned is that even though I did 100 town halls up here and I did a lot of listening, you have to do even more.
What?
You have to do even more. And that's why I didn't do some big podium speech tonight to announce.
You did like a 30-minute speech.
If I want to win, this is the best way to do it. Find out what you care about. Third, I think if you look at our our politics now. Back in 2015 and 16, I played a conventional game. I thought you just do politics the way you've always done it. Just talk about yourself. Don't really worry about anybody else. Keep your eye on the ball and keep going. That's not the politics today. This time you have to differentiate yourself from the person in the lead. And I said this at a town hall.
You should have reacted to the Santos versus Zimmerman debate. I should.
It was a mistake in 2016 not to confront Donald Trump early. Because I knew that so much of what he said was complete baloney. Like, I knew it. I'm going to build the greatest, most wonderful wall across the entire Mexico border, and Mexico is going to pay for it. Well, like, I knew, as someone who had governed, that that was complete bull. But I was like, people aren't going to believe that. They're not going to believe that.
But, you know, it's called tariffs there, guy. Just tariff the shit out of
Mexico. But guess what? You've got no excuse now. He was there for 4 years. 2 of them with a Republican Congress. He got a quarter of the wall built, and Mexico hasn't given us our first peso. We paid for all of it, and only for a quarter of it. And when you watch illegal immigration pouring over our southern border, don't wonder whose fault it is. It's his. It's his fault, because he never changed one immigration law in the 2 years that he had Republican control of Congress. Not one immigration law did he change.
Paul Ryan was purposely
He didn't build the law like he told us to, and Mexico is laughing at us at the idea that they were going to pay for a wall on their border.
Didn't the Mexico president literally said that he's going to work with Trump on it?
He'll tell you, I totally succeeded, and now Biden is the reason.
You know, mocking Trump's not the best way to do it there,
well, Biden's made it worse. But if the wall was there, like he promised us, Biden wouldn't be able to be doing this. He wouldn't be in office if it wasn't for Trump. Joe Biden never beat anybody outside the state of Delaware in 45 years, except for one guy, Donald J. Trump. Joe Biden ran for president 3 times and never won. Never won anything outside the state of Delaware. Not once. Until he ran up against the guy who the American people knew in their heart was full of it. And they had enough.
They watched ads in the stream. I'm sorry, that's YouTube. That's YouTube's end.
They'd watched the disrespect. They had watched the narcissism and the lying for 4 years. And they went, you know what? The people in the middle said, enough. We took a chance on them 4 years ago. We're not taking a chance again. And so I made a fundamental judgment error.
He lost by 40,000.
I thought that something that
makes
was
it sound
so
like it was a
apparent to me
landslide. It was
would be
40,000
apparent to everybody.
votes.
Let me guarantee you something. I ain't making that mistake this time. Is Trump the guy in the way? Well, of course he is. You know, I love this. I've seen some of the press coverage of me getting ready to run. And there's this thing like, Christie doesn't really care about winning. All he cares about doing is destroying Trump. Now, let me ask you something. How are those two things mutually exclusive?
Bro.
I mean, seriously.
Because 90% of the party likes Trump still.
Aren't they inextricably connected? The guy's ahead in the polls. Who am I supposed to be worried about, Nikki Haley? I mean, seriously, if I came in here tonight and spent 15 minutes railing on Nikki Haley, and I've known Nikki for 13 years now, we're friends. So that's why I'm bringing her up, because I know that she will take this in the spirit it's given. If I came out here and railed for 15, 20 minutes about Nikki Haley, you all would leave going, is he nuts? Hasn't he, read the papers? Doesn't he know Trump's leading? The reason I'm going after Trump is twofold.
Cringe. Yeah.
One, he deserves it. And 2, it's the way to win. So these two are not divided. And this is what I don't understand about the coverage, right? Well, I hope he's not just going out there to kill. No, I am going out there. Let me be very clear. I am going out there to take out Donald Trump, but here's
Nick
why.
Haley's a lot better than him, though.
I want to win.
Yeah, I mean, Haley's like 6%.
And I don't want him to win. And guess what? If you put DeSantis and Haley and Pence and Tim Scott, that's it. I'll stop there. On truth serum, they tell you the same thing. Here's the difference. Here's the difference. You don't have to put me on truth serum to tell you.
Bro.
Okay? So
It's politically
that's why.
stupid.
There are not multiple lanes to the
This
Republican
isn't like
nomination.
2016. Trump is
That is a political
still the
science
front
professor's
runner.
dream.
And over 80% of the party
There is
likes
one
him.
lane to the Republican nomination, and he's in front of it. And if you want to win, you better go right through him. Because let me guarantee you something from knowing him for 22 years, everybody. He's going to try to go through me. And he's going to try to
He
go
could
through
just
Ron,
walk
and
around
Nikki,
you,
and
not
Tim,
gonna lie.
and anybody else who stands in his way.
Joseph
And
Carter
you've
for two.
watched
Please
this
do
show.
another 2024 governor
I mean,
prediction.
to
maps.
me, this
yes,
show
I
looks
will.
like it's on reruns now. This is like watching Seinfeld. Right? We've all seen it. And the jokes aren't quite as funny as they were the first time we heard them. Right? So the Mexican Wall, I guarantee you, if you haven't been to one of his events yet and you go, you will walk out of there thinking, Jesus, the whole wall was built. How did I miss that?
Bro.
How did I miss it? The whole wall was built.
Ass
And you know
touch more
what?
better. I'm starting
Shit,
to think
Mexico
that.
paid for it. Nobody told me. I read the papers every day. I missed it. I guarantee you'll come out thinking that. Right? 8 years ago, it was amusing. 8 years ago, you were entertained. I forgive you. But it ain't funny anymore. It's not amusing anymore. It's not entertaining anymore.
Courtesy
It
announcement's pretty
is
cringe.
the last throw
Well, it depends how you
of
do
a
it.
bitter, angry
Trump is
man
funny when he does
who
it.
wants power back for himself, not for you. If you think for 1 minute, when he says, I am your retribution, if you think he wants to be your retribution, forget it.
What?
He's going to be retribution for one person and one person only, himself.
He's the one that
All the
stood up to a
things
lot of
he's
these
angry
clowns.
about, and all the ways he thinks he got schnooked.
Okay, that political guy for 5. Trump could just push him and he'll roll all the way back to New Jersey. Ben Siddix for 2. How would Christie lose Ohio? How much would Christie lose Ohio and Iowa? A lot. You don't backtalk Trump that much and do good in Iowa or Ohio at this point. Stupid.
Hi, Governor Christie.
Hello
so
there.
my name's Anya, and I apologize. I am of voting age. So
Ooh, that's gonna
just
backfire.
wanted to
him.
ask, you spent a lot of time tonight talking about freedom as an American value and these amazing past people in our history that have fought for
Yeah, we
freedom
need
and
Trump
fought
to
for our rights.
roast
I'm
him.
wondering if you could talk about your opinion on the Dobbs Supreme Court decision and the future of reproductive justice and abortion access for women in America, and if you support all of our freedoms or maybe just freedoms for a choice view.
That's Democrat. That's a Democrat right there.
I think that Dobbs' decision was the right decision because I believe it was Roe versus Wade was constitutionally flawed.
Okay.
It said that there was a right to an abortion in the Constitution. And look, I'm a lawyer. I plead guilty. I'm a recovering lawyer, but nonetheless a lawyer. It's not there. And so I think what Dobbs did was exactly what it should have done, which is to say it's not in the Constitution, and as a result, we send this back to the states for
That's
them
actually a
to
good
decide.
answer.
And what I favor is what I've argued for my entire professional life, both as a lawyer and politically. Let every state decide what they want to do.
That's actually not a bad answer.
I think each state should have the right to make that decision. I'm pro-life. I ran twice as a pro-life candidate for governor of New Jersey, which is now a state that allows abortion up to the 9th month of pregnancy. So not a place that was hospitable to my point of view. But I think the reason people voted for me was they knew that that's what I felt in my heart.
He stole the
I
line from
believe
Better
that in
Call
my
Saul.
heart. Now, I also believe, even greater than the things I believe in my heart as someone who governs, is I believe in our Constitution. And I believe in the rule of law. And it means that the people in New Hampshire get to decide on issues that
Yeah,
are not
reducing the cringe.
protected by the Constitution.
That's an okay answer.
They get to decide how they want to deal with this really difficult, horrible issue. Because it is. It's a tragedy no matter what happens. Look, because I think that when there's an unwanted pregnancy, that is something that is tragic for the person.
Oh
and
gosh, she's
people
walking
that are
towards
going
her.
through it.
Whoa, what's going on here?
I think, when you have someone and get them pregnant or they become pregnant, that should be a moment of joy. You're bringing life into the world. But when it's an unwanted, unplanned pregnancy for some people, it doesn't become that.
This is a good
That's
answer.
what I mean on that side. And on the other side, I think any taking of a life like that, of an innocent life, is wrong and it's a tragedy. And so here we are in this horrible situation of having to make choice. But you know what? No one ever said this was going to be easy. Governing ourselves is not easy. There are
Dude,
gonna be
what
lots
is
of
he
really difficult
doing?
questions. This is probably one of the most fraught moral questions that this country has dealt with, and that countries all over the world deal with. And that's why I think it's best decided by the people in each state individually. So in Oklahoma, they have decided to ban all abortions. In New Jersey, they're allowing abortion up to 9 months. I think people would argue that either one of those positions is wrong. So if you
I'll
don't
let 'em
believe
pass
in that
because it's
position,
a
go out
little
and fight for
different,
it in your
but,
state.
yeah,
Fight for what
it's
you think is
borderline.
reasonable. Fight for what you think is fair. And that's what I think should be done. And I don't think the federal government should be bigfooting around in this thing. I think that each state should make that decision because guess what? That's the way the founders set it up. They said very clearly, if it's not enumerated as a right in this document, it reverts to the states. And it's not like it reverts to the states and there's some like crazy-eyed dictator who's going to decide. Some states have put it on the ballot for a vote. That's perfectly acceptable to me. Some states have let their legislature and governor make the decision. But it gets down closer to the people, to your local culture, mores, values.
Mores?
And the majority
morals.
of the people will rule on an issue like that at the state level. Now, I disagree with what my state's doing. I fundamentally think that abortion in the 9th month is just
That's a
wrong.
good answer.
But I got two choices. Fight to try to change it or move. And that's what our democracy is all about. And so that's the way I look at it. That's the way I feel about it. And I think that as conservatives, we've been saying for 50 years, Roe is wrong, the state should decide. Well, we won. Why can't anybody in the conservative movement, or not everybody in the conservative movement, declare victory?
What?
Our argument won out ultimately. The states are going to decide. And so
Oh,
now
okay,
there's other
we're
people who want to
upping the
impose
answer a
their
little
will
bit. That's an L.
from the federal government. I think that unless you can get 60 United States senators and a majority of the House of Representatives and a president of the United States to agree on it, which I think is unlikely, we should allow the states to make their decisions, let them decide what to do. And if it is such a fundamental issue to anybody, the great thing about America is we have the right to pick up and move if we want. And we have the right to go fight the fight here or someplace else. And that's the way I look at it. It's the way I've always believed it. And
Why is Larry Hogan
I
here?
think a pro-choice person
Where?
would feel exactly the same way.
Where's Larry Hogan?
That's the beauty of, I think, of this argument, and it's the genius of our Constitution. We can build consensus in each state, state by state, around what the right thing to do is for the people in that state, and I think that's what we should be encouraging people to do.
Okay,
rather than
dude.
just
Okay, we're
flipping
muting
it
this. This is
around.
getting annoying. We're going to catch up with Super Chats real quick because he's going to keep rambling. Spikes for 2. This is worse than Tim Scott. Yeah. Riley the Mini Dungeon for 5. How many votes does Trump need on the election night to make sure face selectors don't cost me election? I'm afraid it'll be 270, 268. If he gets above like 275, he should be fine. Dustin Carter for 2. Would 100% vote for RFK over Chris, and I'm from the South. I could see the argument. RR 330 for 2. Reproductive rights. Yes, you're the right. You have the right to reproduce. You've got the right to reproduce. Yeah. All right, we're back.
China, it's not an emerging threat. It is a threat.
Yes.
So can you speak to our foreign policy
Sure.
issues a bit?
Look, I think there have been
Ooh.
grave foreign policy mistakes that have been made by the last 5 presidents that we're now living with, that all built on each other. George W. Bush
This should be interesting.
made the fundamental mistake of Iraq.
Ooh, whoa.
Now,
Okay.
we can all talk about why he did it. He got bad intelligence, maybe a flawed decision-making process, but whatever it was, Iraq was a flawed decision. And I think the president himself would even admit that today.
Okay, that's a slight
given
W.
what he now knows, that there were no weapons of mass destruction, et cetera, which was the basis to go into the war. And what it did was steal some credibility from us around the world. Because we said that this was there. Colin Powell went in front of the UN and said it was there, and we turned out to be wrong. So first problem on American foreign policy is we must be honest and we must be credible. Because the Chinese are not, and the Russians are not. And what's always distinguished us in foreign policy around the world is we've told people the truth and we built friendships based upon that truth. that we believe in freedom and democracy.
Yeah, that was
and
an
we'll support
okay
those who do
answer.
the same.
But he's going to
And
keep
when we
rambling.
make a promise to a friend, we'll keep that promise. That's how we get to the next mistake, which was, in my view, Barack Obama allowing the continued encroachment on Ukrainian territory.
Okay,
by the
here we go.
Russians and doing nothing.
Up to 290,
Nothing but sending them
2,900.
blankets and,
We
you know,
literally
human rights
cooed their
aid.
government.
No
What are you
weapons to
talking
defend
about?
themselves. Well, the Russians took that as a
The
signal.
government literally got cooed by America.
We're not going to stand up for them. Sometimes spending some money on the front end saves you a lot of money on the back end. And I think if President Obama had sent the kind of defensive weaponry that we should have, in my opinion, to the Ukrainians to
This
send
is
a
still
signal
on?
to the Russians.
I don't know how long this will
Don't do
last.
this, because these people are willing to fight for their country, and we're giving them the arms to be able to effectively fight for the country. We will not be in the situation I don't believe that we're in today. You go forward to President Trump,
Oh, boy.
and President Trump bartered Ukrainian aid to get dirt on Joe Biden. You know,
4,000.
I don't know beyond reprehensible what you would really call that, but here are a freedom-loving people who just want the weapons that they were at that time promised by President Trump, and now this sends another signal to Putin. Well, if he's willing
He's
to
still
barter for
going.
that, I can make a trade with him on something that'll help me get to Ukraine. And Trump's coddling
He keeps
of Putin,
going.
the way he idolizes.
I would rather watch Tucker
and
Carlson
talked
on
about him
Twitter
as a
right
great
now
leader.
because he just
This
released a
guy
video than
is
this.
a KGB communist thug. That's what he is. And he steals from his people. He's one of the richest men in the world. How'd that come about? By being president of Russia. Well, I mean, I know they pay okay, but not that good. And that leads to the next problem, which is Joe Biden comes in, who appears weak, and said, right in the beginning of his presidency, well, a small incursion probably wouldn't be a problem. Well, here's the problem, everybody. Everybody's definition of small is different.
Jesus.
Vladimir Putin's definition of small was, I'll take it all. And I won't go to Poland, if you're lucky. And now Biden has tried to come back by supplying them
I
with the
forgot
type of
how
arms
boring.
they
This
need.
is awful.
And I will give him credit for having united most of Europe to be able to supply weapons as well. And he's given the Ukrainians a fighting chance.
Come on. This should be our
But
war to
make no
decide who
mistake.
wins. Broker a
This
peace.
is
This
the
was always
beginning
America. Broker the
of
peace.
a
Not,
hot
oh, we
proxy
need
war
to, we need to
between the United
fund
States
one
and
side of the war for an endless
China
war.
is supporting Russia.
Countless thousands
China
are
is
dying.
buying Russian oil.
I heard small.
to
We
be
did
able
it.
to support their war
We reached
effort and prop up their
69.
economy. China
did it.
went to Russia and said there is no limit to the friendship between China and Russia. And I've heard one of the candidates
sticking
say,
on 69
"Well, this is
for a
just a
little
territorial
bit."
dispute." Let me tell you what a territorial dispute is, everybody. You know, like when you get your property surveyed, and the surveyor comes back and says, bad news, your neighbor's fence is 4 inches on your property. That's a territorial dispute. When you roll tanks and artillery into a free country
That's
to,
not
by
what-
force, murder them and take their land,
That's not what
That
happened.
ain't
Okay,
a
dude.
territorial
You're off
dispute.
your
That's
you're off
war.
your medicine or whatever you're on.
that is an act of
What did Chris say about a kid? He
dictatorial
insulted him.
And if we don't stand up, why will China not go to Taiwan? And if you say, okay, why do I really give a damn about Taiwan?
That's a completely
Put
different
aside
case.
humanity, freedom,
Taiwan is a different
liberty.
circumstance
If you don't
than
care about any of that stuff,
Ukraine.
put that aside.
Completely.
Let's be practical. The majority of semiconductors in the world are made in Taiwan. Who do you want controlling that? The Chinese? That worked out really well during COVID, didn't it? When the Chinese were controlling the majority of, personal protective gear, and we had to be on a knee begging the Chinese
This is completely
to give us
different
things to
circumstances.
protect ourselves
Why are
during
you
COVID.
comparing Ukraine to Taiwan?
It is naive to say this is anything but a proxy war. And guess what? The Ukrainians aren't asking us to come over and fight the war for them. They're just saying, give us the ability to fight it. We want to fight for our own country. And I heard Vivek on TV the other day, on Sunday, Ramaswamy, say, this isn't in America's national interest.
It
Why would
isn't.
we care about Ukraine? Why does it matter? He, Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, all saying the same things. They are the modern-day Neville Chamberlains.
Bro!
Why should we worry about Hitler?
You
He'll
compare.
stop at some point.
That is not
And if you don't
Trump's
think
foreign
Putin's as bad as
policy.
Hitler, you're wrong. Because Putin kills his own people in his own country based on their religious views, based on their political views.
Did I just hear
based
that?
on anything that disagrees with him.
Did I just hear that?
We may not call it a Holocaust, but it's gone on in Russia for a very long time.
Did he
and so
just
what are we
call
stand up for and believe in?
Putin and Hitler?
The second part of it on a foreign policy basis is this. America's greatness, in part, comes from our
I have to turn
friendship
this off for a second. Did he just
around the world
compare
than any country.
Putin to Hitler and Trump, the naval Chamberlain? I'm just making sure, chat. Did I hear that correctly? What? Please stop. I'm stunned. We're back
That's
on.
right, because
What
when
did
you
I
look at
just
their
listen
government,
to?
You know what you say? I'll take the money, but not the government. Thank you. I don't want Xi Jinping telling me what to do. Well, if that's the case, we are giving it away. Now, I love the phrase America first. Is there anybody in this room who is against America first? Anybody? Neither am I. I'm not like, no, I'm for Luxembourg. I'd like Luxembourg to be first, Belgium second, we'd be a comfortable bronze medal. Let's be third. It's a ridiculous statement. The question is, not if you want America to be first or not, it's how.
Peace is
How
not
do we become
appeasement, like
first?
somebody says.
And you have people in my party, our party, who are saying, fill the moat, pull up the drawbridge, and let's not worry about the rest of the world, everybody. We got plenty of problems here, and we got to fix these problems that we've got here, and we can't afford to engage with the world. Well, guess what? When we stop engaging with the world, we're no longer going to be the biggest economy in the world. We're not.
Bro.
They're going to trade with China. And then China's going to put the screws to us and say,
They
hey,
already
you want to
are.
continue to trade with
They
us to
already are
another
trading
country?
with China.
You can't trade with America anymore. Or you have to give all the best technology to us.
Nobody
not
ever
to the
said
Americans.
we need complete abandonment of the
Foreign
world.
policy
Nobody
is
says that.
complicated. Very complicated.
We just want to
But
put
in
American
another
citizens
sense, it's very
first.
simple.
If there's a problem in America,
More friends
we
you
should
have
focus on that
In a
first.
finite world, the better off you're
Why?
gonna be. And sometimes that friendship costs. It costs having to provide arms. It costs having to provide economic aid. It costs in having to provide comfort to people who are in trouble. But America became the greatest country in the world, the greatest power in the world, because we were willing to engage. And we understood that the sacrifices we made in the process of that would end up with us, as I
Christie's so
said in the beginning,
deluded.
being
This is beyond delusional.
not smaller, being greater, not lesser. And so, if you want to know what my foreign policy look like, I'm not looking to send troops all over the world to fight. It would be a last resort for me. But I want to engage with every country who's willing to engage with us. I want to sit with every leader of goodwill, and I'll even sit with the ones of bad will. The conversation will just be a little different. And we need to be doing that. And the idea that we can allow this country to fill the moat and pull up the drawbridge, America first. We're all for America first. Let's stop it. This is, again, it's a TV show.
Define America first.
America first. Who's for it? Yeah, great, good. But have these policies led to us being first? I don't think so. You think
He
we're
said
better
smaller.
now
Yeah, I heard that.
around the world than we were 8 years ago? I don't. I don't.
Ben Figure
so
for
that's the way I would
200 cents
engage.
for 200 cringe points.
And yes,
I agree. We're up to
Ukraine is
1,000 at
supporting
this
the
point.
Ukrainian
We have
people.
broken it.
Are they
we are
perfect?
beyond comprehension.
As I said in the beginning, none of us are. Are they making every decision like we want to make it? Do they run their government exactly the way we want? No. But same way American elections are choices, so are these. Do we want them or the Russians? I'll take the Ukrainians.
Bro.
I'll take the Ukrainians. And I think it's not that these choices are without cost, but to me, avoiding those choices have a much, much greater cost, both in the near term and in the long term. That's the way I deal with it.
Please let this end.
He's going to come get your microphone so everybody else can hear you.
He is beyond repair. I'm
Hello,
about to end this.
Tom Palkin II. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas.
Is that
but I'm
Marco
also a
Rubio?
geopolitical consultant in Asia.
Oh, God, it's consultant.
I have yet another foreign policy question as well. Some of my concerns, and I do like your idea of America as a big country, but I have to deal with a lot of, let's just say, complex diplomatic issues. And what I often hear from, say, other countries, their criticisms of America is that they see themselves as this big power and that all others should listen to what the U.S. does. And so my concern
This is raising my opinion, Nikki Haley.
by you emphasizing this campaign of bigness, how are we going to address the issues between other countries, including rival countries?
That's fat Marco
And are you
Rubio.
going to be, oh, we're big, you're small? Or let's say, for example, when you're talking to China, I know a lot of us here are very critical of China, but in one sense, we still have to find ways to work together
Dollar
with
Tree
China.
Rubio.
And I just would
Pence.
like to know your opinion on U.S.-China relations in this regards.
Sure, you put a lot in there, so let me try to unpack it. First off, I am insulted by the idea that you think I would like anything over big. Right? So we're not going to do that. But I will
Oh
tell you
my
this.
gosh, dude.
You can become bigger and not
Just-
be dictatorial.
He just roasted him. He just...
The greatness of America was after
I
World
hate
War
these
II,
people.
after we had given and given
Oh
and
my
given more than any country had ever given without asking for anything in return. And what happened as a result? We engendered trust and friendship all around the world that then inured to our benefit. It's kind of like, you know, when I say some of this stuff is, as you said, there's some very complex negotiations that have to go on, but some of it is simple too. Like, I'm sure that all of us who had great mothers in this room,
This is just...
our mothers taught us. Like, be good to others, be kind to others.
This has to be a
And it
parody.
will ultimately come back to benefit you.
He's getting cooked in
Couldn't
his own
exactly
town
explain
hall.
how. Wasn't a direct financial transaction, but the goodness and the kindness that you give, I really believe comes back to you, multifold. Secondly, look, I don't think we should be dictating to other countries around the world. We should be trying to provide an example that they want to emulate, not dictating to them what their government should be. When we try to dictate what government should be, usually
Yep, I
that
heard
ends
a bunch
up
of
in a
times.
disaster for
Like
us.
5.
But when we provide a shining example, and people look at this country and go, wow, I'd like to be like that. I'd like to have those things, those
Is that
freedoms,
dude writing?
those
Like, is
economic
that dude even
benefits,
listening?
Those educational benefits.
What is that dude writing down?
People want to emulate you then. So I think part of it is just the art of persuasion rather than it being a dictator. On U.S.-China relations, look, we tried it a bunch of different ways with China, right? And starting back with Nixon and him opening the door to China. And it was a brilliant strategic move
don't know
to
what to
divide
say
China
about his-
and Russia.
I don't know.
And it's taken us 50 years now to screw that up. And we put China and Russia back together, right? So 50 years later, Nixon's looking down going, all right, I wasn't perfect, but I got that right. And we've messed it up.
taking
I'm not
notes.
saying that we should isolate China. It's impossible. They're the second
He
largest
saw him
economy
do it
in the
earlier.
world.
What is that? Has to be somebody for his campaign then.
Billions of people. Like, it's not like we're going to go, okay, it's not there, it's not there, it's not there.
Ben Simmons
It's
for
there.
2. New Jersey polls for primaries close in 6 minutes on New York Times.
We
I-
have
let me
given
pull that up
into
real
their
quick.
demands.
Let me
of
pull off
saying,
the,
we're a developing country.
I turned
we
off
need
the
more
stream for a
advantages."
second.
Guess what? The
New
development is
Jersey.
over.
I'm intrigued.
You're now nearly our equal, if not our equal, in many ways. So you know what? Now we compete with each other on an equal basis. No more advantages that we've given to China over time. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I read your super chat. That's correct. Vote ender. Okay. Yep, we can see the results and stuff.
Well, but hold on a second. So exactly where I was going. Okay. China allow Facebook in China? No. They don't. They allow
He's
Twitter
fighting.
in China. Do they allow TikTok?
Bro.
And our version of it in China? They do not allow our technology in, but they insist that their technology be accepted by us. And so my point is, I'm willing to have a fair relationship with China. But it's got to be a fair
He's
relationship.
still writing down
And
things.
if they want to start doing that stuff of blocking stuff, stealing our technology, which they do on a regular basis.
Sam Madsen for 5. Will those 3 blue counties on the Wisconsin Iron Range ever flip? Not for a while.
Go then
Not for
and
a while, I
block
don't
some
think.
things that they want because they're not following
Fight
the
with those
rules
little
that they said they
campaign
were going to
workers.
follow. When we allowed them to join the World Trade Organization, they agreed to a whole bunch of fair trading rules, most of which they don't follow. So after a while, you have to let them know, in my opinion, enough's enough. Okay? Doesn't mean enough's enough, therefore we're putting the wall up and we're not going to talk to you anymore. That would be destructive to both of us, both economically and militarily. But they've had a good run.
This is still going.
And to some extent at our expense. Some we've benefited from, some we've had to pay for. We're in a new era now. And when they go around and start playing the games that they're playing in foreign policy, building artificial islands in the South China Sea and claiming jurisdiction over them, messing around with our ships in both private sector ships, trading lanes, and military ships like they did just last week, when they come to Brazil
If Dur loses Jover, yeah.
and stand next to the new president of Brazil and encourage him to denounce the United States in our hemisphere, okay,
That one
that's fine.
guy's
You
asleep
can
in the
play that
blue
game.
suit in the back.
But remember that we will play it back.
Where?
We will play it back.
Oh, I see
And
it.
so, my concern about this is that we have allowed,
There's nothing
and to-
interesting.
in some extent, in the
I
beginning
want
of
to
the
see
relationship,
some
for good
like
reasons, to allow them
argument
to
and back
develop.
and forth. This is
We've allowed them to have
crap.
advantages. It needs to stop, in my opinion, now. And we need to make this a level playing field. And then respect for our intellectual property and respect for theirs. Respect for our manufacturing and respect for theirs. Respect for their ability to trade and respect for ours. And we don't have that now. And that's my concern about it. Because in the end, you're much less likely to go to war with someone who respects you.
I was gone for an hour to do
And
stuff,
we
and I
need to
come back
rebuild
and he's
that
still
respect for
talking.
China
Yeah, it's still
in
going.
both directions, and then we'll be much less likely to go to war, in my view, if we do that. Yes, sir, right in the front.
My name is Earl Rinker, former politician in New Hampshire. There's going to be somewhere between a half a dozen and a dozen Republican candidates for president. 7 years ago, Donald Trump only needed 30% of the vote or whatever it was in order to walk away with enough primaries to be our candidate. What's going to change this year?
Well, first off, there's going to be 9, it looks like now, with Governor Sununu's announcement that he's not going to run. And really, there's 7 right now, including me. And I think we got Mike Pence tomorrow, makes 8. And it looks like Doug Burgum, the governor of North Dakota, is getting in. Look at that guy, just shrugged his shoulders.
Bro, that's not me.
I had somebody say to me recently, Doug Burgum's running for president, the governor of North Dakota. They don't know Doug Burgum in South Dakota. But everybody's got a right to run, and Doug's a nice guy, so he'll show up here soon. But let's start off with the fact that that's half of the number of candidates who are on the ballot in New Hampshire.
Yeah, but Trump's already at like
7 years ago.
50%.
So we've made some
So it doesn't
progress
really matter.
on the thing you're concerned about. Secondly, you don't know if all of us are going to still be here come February when you vote. Remember, Scott Walker was the front runner, and he left in September, right? So, things change in this business, and you all have a way of making your voices heard even before you vote. So that's another part of it. But the last part of it is, I think we always make a mistake politically when we run the next election through the prism of the last one. Remember in 2015, at this point in the race, Donald Trump was at 4%. So when he mocks everybody who's in single digits, I love it. I'm like, yeah, like you.
Yeah, well, Trump was like
7 years ago. I
at
was ahead of him
50%
when he
right
came
now.
into the race 7 years ago. I certainly never expected him to pass me. Believe me.
Scott Walker
But
never
this
led
is
by
not a
25.
static
Yeah, he only
situation.
led by like 2 at his peak.
7 years ago, there was very little any of us could say about Donald Trump. He didn't have a record in public office. He made up his record in the private sector. Like, you would think the Trump organization was like, that he was like running Microsoft.
Yes.
He was running a family business that had about 70, 80 employees, real employees in the headquarters. Now, it was thousands if you count every greenskeeper and waitress and bartender, but he wasn't really managing those folks from day to day.
Yeah, but Trump is a little former president.
He had made a lot of money in his life.
I love who he's talking,
inherited
saying,
a lot,
2016
turned
doesn't
that
matter,
inheritance into
but
something
then he
bigger.
brings up the
Congratulations.
fact Trump
That's really
is
good. That's what
single
everybody in
digits.
America would like to do. But there wasn't a record for us to talk about. There is now, if we're willing to talk about it. Now, before tonight, I haven't heard one candidate for the Republican nomination talk frankly about his record. Not one. They wouldn't even mention his name. Like I said before, it's Voldemort time, everybody.
Trump,
They
DeSantis
won't
literally
mention his
mentions
name.
Trump's name
I
in the
watched-
rallies.
And this shows you what a sad, sad life I really have. I watched large portions of the Joni Ernst roast and ride in Iowa. A sad, sad existence.
Bro.
But I watched parts of it, and I watched a little bit of every candidate. Not one of them mentioned his name. They would say cute little things like, we need new generational leadership. Oh, I get it. Trump's old, you're younger. Oh, I should vote for you. Or, we need a leader who looks forward, not backwards. Oh, I get it. You're talking about the way he still thinks the 2020 election was stolen,
Bro.
and you won't say it wasn't stolen, but you won't say it will, so you're going to keep us all guessing, but you're better than him. I mean, look, the reason this is going to be different this time, sir,
12,000 cringe
is
because
because
he
at
keeps
least one of
talking.
us
He doesn't shut up.
is going to call him
And
on
pulls
the
their clothes
fact
in New Jersey.
that
so.
8 years ago, he stood on the stage in New Hampshire and said he was going to balance the budget in 4 years.
Yes.
And he left with the biggest deficit of any president in America.
Are you forgetting what happened in 2020?
He said he was going to eliminate the national debt in 8 years. He added $3 trillion to the national debt in 4 years.
That's not bad.
It's at least 3. He said 8 years ago that he was going to repeal and replace Obamacare.
McCain voted against it. That's
He
why.
neither repealed nor replaced, even though he had a Republican Congress.
Do you forget what McCain
You all
did?
remember John McCain coming in and going, vote no. That is a failure of presidential leadership.
What?
Why do you think John McCain voted no? Now look, John McCain is gone and we can't ask him anymore. And it very well be that John McCain, I found to be a pretty principled guy, really didn't believe in the bill. But I'll tell you something else that I know about John McCain. John McCain had a long memory. John McCain listened to Donald Trump beat him senseless day after day after day after day, starting with the beginning of his campaign when he said he wasn't a war hero because he got captured.
So you're mad that... Excuse me.
I would just suggest something on a human relations basis. If you're looking for somebody's vote who was kept in the
So wait a
Hanoi
minute.
Hilton
It's
for
Trump's
years
fault for
as a
Obamacare
prisoner of
not
war and
passing,
beaten
but
and
it's
abused
McCain is a
and
great
didn't
person
leave
for
because
voting
he said,
against
I
it?
will not leave unless my men leave with me. If you want his vote, how about trying not to say he's not a hero?
Dude,
How about
you're
we
just-
start at that minimum
Bro.
amount of public discourse? And now I heard him say, if we made him president again, he would settle the Ukraine war in 24 hours. Did you hear that one? That's a beauty. That's really in a career of complete falsehoods. That makes the top 5. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say Donald Trump could settle it in 24 hours. Let me tell you how he would. He'd give Ukraine to Russia. And he said it.
Bro, what?
He said it on television. He said it at CNN, and he said, look, Russia's going to wind up with Ukraine anyway, so what's the difference?
That's not what he said.
That's how he'd settle it in 24 hours. He'd call Zelensky and say, hey, guess what? Time to
That
raise
is
the Russian
not what
flag up on the
happened.
pole. We're out of here. So I'm going to talk about those things and a lot more because I don't want to do it all tonight because, I want you to come to the next one. But that didn't happen last time. He was given a free pass. Did he ever do this with you? Did Donald Trump come to New Hampshire 7 years ago and stand in the middle of the room and take any question from anybody without knowing who you were or what your question was going to be.
So
oh,
it's not a
no.
war because
He went
both
over to the
sides stopped
hockey
fighting
arena
and started
and
negotiating.
stood in front of a large crowd and gave his normal speech,
Durr
waited
is
for
at,
all of
oh
you
yeah,
to
the
cheer and chant
results
his
are in.
name,
No.
and then he left.
Ed Durr,
Got on his
no.
airplane and went home to sleep in his
Why are they
apartment in New York.
priming out Durr?
I'm at the Hilton
Why?
Garden Inn tonight, in case you're wondering. The bar's open until 11. So, guess what? I'm calling him out. It's time for him to stand in the center of this room and answer questions. It's time for him not to look at somebody and when he doesn't like their question, just call them a mean person,
Yes.
right? Guess what?
Come on, Durr, you gotta win
You
this.
want to be president of the United States? Stand in the center of the room in front of the people that you ask to govern and take their questions. And if he's unwilling to do that, send him back to Mar-a-Lago. Plays golf every day anyway. Let him go back to playing golf. And by the way, that's one other promise. I'm glad I brought that up. Remember, I stood on the stage in 2016. He said, with all the problems America has, how can Barack Obama play 120 days of golf? How can he do it? I won't play one day of golf. I'll be so busy solving your problems that I won't play one day of golf.
Cope.
265 days of golf in 4 years.
Cope.
Now, look, I don't golf.
Yeah, that
So I can
explains a
guarantee
lot.
you I won't be golfing. But that's not the point. The point is, it was all a lie. He plays golf all the time. He owns golf courses.
Yes.
So when he told you he wouldn't play one day at golf,
That's not what he
here's
said.
the worst part. He never meant it. He never meant it. Now, seriously,
I know
if
Ed Durr's
character is
losing.
destiny, how do we reward that anymore? It's one thing to make a mistake. It's one thing to make a bad judgment. But when his whole life is about golf, when most of his profits are in owning golf courses,
You're getting mad.
and then he comes in front of
Wrap it
you
up.
and says, I won't play a day of golf as president. I don't care whether he plays 500 days of golf. In fact, having him out of the Oval Office might have actually been better than having him in it. But don't lie to me. Don't treat me like a fool and tell me you'll never
Hey,
play when
Christie,
you
tell
know
us
you have
about
every intention
Bridgegate.
of doing it.
Yeah, he should.
And by the way, making the Secret Service stay at your hotel and pay your hotel rates on the taxpayer's dime, too. Because let me tell you something, everybody. The grift from this family is breathtaking.
How do you think you're
It's
going to win this?
breathtaking. Jared Kushner and Ivanka Kushner walk out of the White House and months later get $2 billion from the Saudis. $2 billion from the Saudis. You think it's because he's some kind of investing genius? Or do you think it's because he was sitting next to the President of the United States for 4 years doing favors for the Saudis?
This guy needs a mental hospital.
your
Yeah,
money.
he is lost, dude.
That's your
What is he
money.
even
he stole
talking about?
and gave it to his family.
Trump
that makes
lost
us
like
a banana
$2 billion in net worth.
That's what it makes us.
Name a president
So,
that lost money in
He may
net
get
worth.
30% again.
Name one.
I'm not sure. Maybe he'll get more. Maybe he'll get less. But let me tell you what he'll know in 2024 that he had no idea of in 2016. He's in for a fight to get it. He'll come. We can't ignore the people in front of the flag for questions.
I'm about to end this stream. This is just
Thank you,
freaking
Governor
off.
Christie. My name is James Toyne. I'm 30 years old. I've had 55 surgeries. And I'm an advocate for those with feeding tubes and other health issues. One of the things I've noticed is, like, for example, I just got new prescription for my stomach. My mom and dad are on the same meds as well. For them, it's $10. For me, it's $480. We have the same insurance. What would you do to ensure that the pharmaceutical industry would make it fair for those who are on the same meds but not have to pay 4 different prices?
We have to find a balance in this country between two things. Between you having to pay $480 when your parents are paying 10, and us not inventing any new medicines. See, I think everybody goes to the extremes on these issues, right? There's some people who don't want any controls on the pharmaceutical industry, don't want any requirements on them, and all the rest, and just let them do whatever they're going to do. And there are some people who want to control prices and control what goes to the pharmaceutical industry in terms of profits. When COVID happened, the American people got the treatments first and the vaccines first because we lived here. Because we have a pharmaceutical industry in this country and that we support in this country.
You're shilling for the pharmaceutical industry, dude?
Changing the face of medical treatment.
Is he actually shilling for those clowns?
We get it first. And we get it first because places like Pfizer invested billions of dollars of their own money, not government money. They didn't take any government money. Billions of dollars of their own money on a technology that they didn't even exactly know how they were going to use it. And then when COVID came, the mRNA technology that we're using
it's
turned
painful.
out to be able to
I
help
am
significantly
bearing through it.
in getting rid
We've been here
of the
for
pandemic we had.
almost 2
So I'm
hours.
very concerned about us going to a system like Canada
Someone should
or
ask him
Great
how he's going to
Britain,
control a country
where
when
we
he can't
control
control his eating
prices,
habits.
fix prices, and we fix profits. Because then there's no reason to take risk. Our system is built on the idea that if you take risk, you may lose. But if you win, you'll win big.
Cringe guy needs to go up.
And we should continue to have that
Yeah.
incentive, I think, built
Read
in.
Trump's response.
However,
I'm reading it
Let
right
me tell you
now.
what
It's
drives
pretty
me
good.
crazy, and it's just one example of the waste. Let me assure the major pharmaceuticals in this country, there is not a man in this country who is 55 or older who doesn't know that you can take a pill for a certain problem. Okay? Like if you watch football, baseball, hockey, basketball, anywhere, we get it. Stop with all these commercials. Like these commercials drive me crazy. Like ask your doctor for this treatment for cancer. How about this? I'd like my doctor to decide what I should take if I have cancer, if I have high blood pressure, if I have diabetes, if I have other medical issues. And these commercials and the waste of money on these commercials undercuts their argument. I don't think we need to be advertising drugs. We never did before. And everybody seemed to get the medicine they needed because the pharmaceutical companies went to the doctors, explained to the doctors
Those rhinos are
what
going
the
to finally
medicine
understand that there are Trump
and then
voters.
the doctors decided.
Remember,
for you
according to
or me,
Christie, Trump
whether
voters
that
don't
would
exist.
help my particular medical problem or yours. I
should
really think
stream
if
watching
we
paint
stopped
dry.
allowing advertising by the
I'm
pharmaceutical
very
companies for prescription
tempted.
drugs.
At 2
We're gonna
hours, we are
advertise for over-the-counter
done.
drugs that everybody can buy.
How
They're relatively
long has he
inexpensive.
been
I got no problem
going
with that. They wanna
for?
continue to advertise for
Dear Lord.
Tylenol or Advil or any of the other over-the-counter stuff that we buy, allergy medicine, all the right, great. But prescriptions, like, let's say you like a particular drug that you see on TV. Hey, I'd like to try
Holy
that. That seems
shit, the
pretty
cringe
good.
count
You
is
can't
at
go to the store and buy it.
15,000.
You got to go to your doctor to convince your doctor to write a prescription for you for it. I think this is an incredible waste, and I think there are other places where they waste as well. And I think that's where we have to get
Come
at.
on,
And
nerd.
by telling them, you got to make a choice. You want to keep advertising, but then we're going to restrict your profits. I think if they're given that choice, I think we'll see a lot less commercials, if any. And that's what annoys the American people. It's not just when you go to the counter and you have to pay that price, but it's when you go home and you see the company that charged you $480 for that bottle of medicine now turning around and spending tens of millions,
Christie's energy
if
bar
not
has to be
hundreds of millions of
depleted.
dollars on advertising every year. And the other thing to remember, too, is this. It's not just the pharmaceutical companies. There is a real
You should treat yourself
evil
after
agent
this.
in
I
all
don't
this.
freaking know. I may.
And those are the
This
pharmacy
is
benefit
unbearable to
managers.
watch.
Now, some people know who these people are and some people don't, but they are the middlemen between the pharmaceutical industry and your local pharmacy, whether it's a local family-owned pharmacy or a CVS or a Walgreens or whatever it is. And the pharmaceutical industry gives hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars every year in discounts.
I think this is something
off
Chris
of
should
their
do off
drugs.
camera.
Guess who keeps most of the discounts? The pharmacy benefit managers. They keep most of the discounts and pass this much on to you. And they are making a fortune for literally doing nothing. The pharmaceutical companies invent the drugs. The doctors prescribe the drugs. And these people in the middle are just pushing paper and moving medicine. And they're making billions of dollars. Look at some of those stocks like Cardinal Health and others who make a fortune. We need to have some common sense reform of that. Because for middlemen to be
You should
keeping the
order pizza
majority of
this
those
stream. You're
discounts
put
like
up with this
that the
guy.
pharmaceutical
I
companies give
mean,
to try to
I don't know,
decrease the
man.
rate
I
that
don't
you
know
pay at the
what
counter.
I'm going to do after this
It's just wrong.
because my
It's just
brain
wrong. And I
is
don't know
frying.
who their lobbyists are, but they must be pretty damn good. because they fly
What
under
does
the radar.
what does that have to do with price of
But they
medicine?
shouldn't.
I don't even know
So
what
those are two
answer
ideas that I have on the
question was.
advertising side and pharmacy benefit managers that can bring those prices down while not destroying the
This is just a
ingenuity
non-answer.
and the inventiveness of the American pharmaceutical industry, which are changing lives every day and saving lives every day. So we got to find that balance.
Like, it was a good
So that's the way
question,
I would
but
go about
what
it.
does that have to do with anything?
All right. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, and thanks for being here. My name is Nancy Ryan, and I live in Lee, New Hampshire. I'm New Hampshire's field coordinator for the National Breast Cancer Coalition. And I really liked what you said about thinking big, because that is exactly what the National Breast Cancer Coalition does.
This better be a good question.
We want to end breast cancer for everyone. I don't know if you know this, but New Hampshire has the second highest incidence rate of breast cancer in the country.
Really?
So I'm obviously very involved and very concerned about this. What I would like to ask you tonight is to sign the National Breast Cancer Coalition's public policy platform. It's a simple one-page document that asks you, as candidate for President of the United States, to support our work and mission. And that would include 3 major areas.
This is a shill, I think.
Adequate and meaningful funding, federal funding for breast cancer research, access to quality care for all, and ensuring that educated advocates play a role wherever decisions about breast cancer are made in the public policy and research
Christie's the
arena.
only candidate who actually took questions
I
directly
have
from voters in the
copies of
announcement.
the
Mad respect.
public policy
I knew you
committee.
would.
He answered like nothing.
Well, first of
he
all,
talked like
let
a
me say
half an
thank you
hour.
for what
They
you're
kept
doing.
rambling.
Because this is part of what makes America great, and what I was talking about before.
There are actual people
Is
shilling for
that
Christie in the chat. I
people
can
who feel
see it. Oh
passionate
my
about
gosh.
something, who believe in a cause,
Carlos
have
999
the opportunity
Call of
to go
Duty
and
for
fight for
2.
that
Put
cause,
up the Ed Durr
and
result
to have
on
their voices
decision
be
desk. I have them
heard,
right here.
and to not give up.
Durr is at
And
45%.
We should never take any of those people like you for granted, because that's an incredibly important role in a democracy that's working the way it should. Second, I know you've got it. Give it to me. I'm not going to sign it here, because if I signed it without reading it, it would be like those things we get on the internet, right, where they say, you know, do you agree? And we don't want to read the whole thing, so we go, yeah, okay, I agree. I don't want to treat it that way. So give it to me. I will read it between now and when I come back to New Hampshire the next time. If you give my folks your number, when I come back, I'll tell you I'm coming back, and I'll tell you whether I'm signing it or not.
I have given a packet to Doug Mayer.
Oh, well, geez, I'll never get it. Doug's the most incompetent. Doug's the most incompetent guy on my staff. How the hell did you decide to do that?
You think anyone
No,
would voluntarily
Doug's got
cover
it. He's a great
No.
guy, so I'll get it from Doug.
Durr is at
and then you
48%.
go and give Doug your number
Oh,
on the
yes.
way out.
Durr's at 49.
Great. Well, then we're
We can
set.
pull it
Good
off
job.
still.
Thank you, Governor, for being here. My name is Valerie. I am 19 and a New Hampshire state representative. And in regards to domestic policy, what is your chief policy aim in the first 100 days? Thank you.
Ooh, that's actually a good question.
Well, look, I can tell you a few, because I'm not going to know what I'm going to be confronting in the first 100 days, 18 months from now, right? So something may happen between now and January 20th of 2025 that makes me go, oh, okay, I was going to do this, but now I'm going to do that. I'll give you an example. When I became governor, education reform was my top priority, and I was going to work on it.
Why
the
are they
first 100
primary
days.
Durr? I
And
don't
then
know.
I got there,
Can
and we
somebody
had an
answer
$11
that?
billion deficit
Why are they
on a
trying to take out
$29 billion
Durr?
budget. The previous governor had said that it was $500 million. A little different. And so all of a sudden, my first 100 days became consumed with dealing with that. But I'll tell you a few things. First, on the domestic side, I would go back to education. The thing that's differentiated the United States, in my view, from any other country in the world has been our commitment to educating
You drink water
people
with one
your
hand.
age to become more educated than I am. That it's not good enough just for you to have the same education I've had, but that you should get better, deeper,
Real candidate.
wiser, and that your education should be a part of it. And going all the way down to kindergarten and pre-K, we're failing in a lot of parts of this country. Not everywhere.
He did
There's
announce.
some places that are succeeding. but there's many, many places we're failing. And I think we're failing because we have taken parents out of the educational process. We've allowed the teachers' unions to be able to dominate the educational process.
Say a complete and total moratorium on immigration.
It's okay for teachers to have input on what education is going to be. They're teachers. Of course they should. But they shouldn't have the only input.
There's an outsider who did. They don't
choice.
like because he beat Steve Sweeney. I know
So,
he beat the
one of the priorities in the
I know
first
he
100
beat the Senate
days
president.
would
but
be to pass
who knows?
a bill that's already out there on federal tax credits for educational choice, so that every parent, regardless of their economic wherewithal, if they think that there's a school
Christie
near them
wins
that's
10%
better
New Hampshire,
than the
no
public
way.
school their child's
His
in for
approval
their
rating
child,
in New Jersey is like 5.
but they can't do it because they don't have the money, we should give them a tax credit to be able to afford to do that. You should not be
So
able
we'll
to
talk long enough
be
until he
stuck with whatever
concedes.
education you get because
Yeah,
you're
this
not
keeps going
well off.
on.
Because the
and
dreams that people who are
on.
not economically successful at the moment have for their children are no less
You
important
already
and no less
answered all the
grand.
questions everybody cared
than the
about.
rich.
So
And so that would be one priority. Second priority would be we have got to have a discussion in this country about our entitlement programs, because in 7 years,
bro,
Social Security
electability. This
and
electability,
if we
my
don't do
people.
something about it, if we continue to ignore it, then everyone's going to get a 25% reduction in benefits immediately. That's written into the law. So I don't want to see any senior in this country who is reliant
needs
upon their
30
Social
votes.
Security for them to live from day to day have to figure out how they're going to fill a 25% hole in their budget, because for most of them, they won't be able to.
Why are you
So
talking
we
about
need to
entitlement
deal
reform?
with Social Security
What are you
in
doing?
particular, and have a bipartisan conversation about how to fix it, because 7 years is not a long way away.
They've been saying this for
And
20.
I don't want to see that happen to America's seniors who have paid into the system and built their economic future around Social Security being one of those pillars.
He
I
talks
hope
way
they
too
have
much.
an
Yeah,
IRA
he,
or 401k to
way
help,
too
or
much. He's not
maybe a private
entertaining like
pension
Trump.
for those that still exist in our country. But Social Security is going to be one of those pillars, and we have to deal with it. And I would think that third, we have to be able to encourage job growth in this country.
Bro, that's so
because
generic.
jobs are changing so rapidly, especially
He's
post-pandemic.
right. Go away. You
And
want
I think the best way
electability,
to
but
do
you
that
want to
is
like
to
gut
lower
Social Security.
regulations in this
I'm sure
country,
it's a very
and
electable
let
thing for
entrepreneurs
some
be able
Republicans
to
to run on.
create jobs, do what they do best. Artificial intelligence and other things that are coming are going to drastically change how we do our jobs every day. And it's going to mean that new jobs are going to have to be created. And you have people who are hysterical over that. And what I'd say to them is,
How's Ed Durr doing?
there never used to be an automobile engine either. We used to ride horses. Before that, we didn't have carriages on the horses. One of America's greatnesses is that we continue to evolve and grow and get bigger and better and find out how to use new technology to be able to grow. But we can't do that if our entrepreneurs are spending a third of their time filling out forms for the government, telling them what they can't do. And that's part of the problem I have with some of our candidates in this race. They spend all their time telling you what they're going to stop. If I become president, I'm going to stop this. If I become president, I'm going to stop that. If I become president, I'm going to stop this and this and this and this and this, and I'm going to stop all of it. Okay.
Yep, I heard it.
After you do that, then what are you going to do? Leading a government is not just about stopping bad things. It's about starting good ones. And it doesn't mean the government has to start it, but the government should get out of the way from other people starting it. And so I'm weary of candidates who are just negative. And I'm not talking about negative ads. You'll see plenty of them. And that's never going to change.
We've been here
Adams
for
and Jefferson
2
ran
hours.
negative ads
We're
against
probably
each
not
other,
even halfway done.
In 1800. So this is not
What
going
about
to change.
Agenda 47?
What I'm talking
Exactly.
about is the negativity
He's not
of
gonna
the
bring that up.
language. The negativity of the values.
LT called rap race fuse. I don't
We're
give a
all
shit.
about what we're against.
I'm not a racist. That's bullshit.
When is anybody going to say what they're for?
Complete horse shit.
I mean, it's fine to be against certain things. I'm against certain things too, but we have candidates. In
Did
this
he?
race
I
who
don't
their
know.
entire
I don't know if he called him racist or not. If he
reason
did,
for
he's
running
full of it.
is to be against things. I'm against this. I'm going to stop this. This trend's going to die in my state.
Okay, I can't.
Okay.
I physically can't go with this.
You're a murderer.
He
Sometimes
keeps
that
going
needs to happen.
on and
But what's
on
next?
and
What's your
on
next plan?
and
How are you
on
going to make this country
and
bigger?
on.
That's all about making
Man
it
yells
smaller,
at cloud.
not about making it bigger. So those are three things. And one thing I'm confident of, having watched the presidency now for the last 40 years or so of my adult life, there are at least a dozen things that are going to be on that desk if I get there that I will not have even thought about and you wouldn't have thought about.
He criticized
That's why it
negativity after
matters
making
who
a
you
speech
put
about
there.
be negative.
Because no matter what we say in these meetings,
When is the end? Who
you should
freaking
hear us
knows?
and take
Oh,
us
no.
seriously about what we're saying.
What is he doing?
But you also got to assess our character and who we are. Because there are going to be so many things that are going to come up that we could not have
never end.
anticipated and that I wouldn't have given you an answer for. So you're going to be sitting in your kitchen or your living room or a classroom or a dormitory, and this problem's going to come up and you're going to
Oh
read
my
about it. And
goodness.
I don't want you, if I'm the
Please,
president,
dude, stop.
my
Oh, the
God.
thing came off.
I have no idea what he'll do about that.
His entire campaign's
I
Trump
want you to
derangement
be able to
syndrome.
sit there and take a deep breath
Yeah,
and
that's
say,
not far from
I
the
trust them to
truth.
handle it. And that's character. That's character. That's what gives you the ability. I've been there. I didn't expect Hurricane Sandy to come. I didn't expect the worst natural disaster
2 hours
in the history of my
late.
state to hit us and create
Jeez, is he going to
$40
keep going
billion
on for like another
loss.
hour?
365,000 homes destroyed.
Christopher Nelson movies are shorter than this. You mean Christopher
Two-thirds of the
Nolan?
state without electricity for 2 weeks. No operating water
I
treatment or
could've.
wastewater treatment plants anywhere in the state.
Oh my.
I don't. That's not in the manual. And I'll tell you, when you know your governor or president, is when that happens. And you go around the
Morbius.
table to all your
I could have
advisors,
watched
they tell you
Morbius in this
everything that's
time.
going wrong. And then when they get done, they just all stare at you. There's a few of my former cabinet members sitting over here tonight.
Is ABC
and
the
they'll
first
remember that
GOP
day.
TV debate? I thought it
They
was
sat around
Fox
and looked,
or
they
Rumble.
told me everything that had happened, and then they just sat there and looked at me. And that was the moment where I said, oh, I'm governor. I got to come up with a solution to this. And they're looking at me going, you asked for it. You're the guy who wanted the big job. It's that moment when what's in here.
Oops.
What's in here that matters. Because there's no manual. There's no guide. It's what were you taught? How were you raised? What are your values? Are you honest? Are you accountable and responsible? Are you willing to admit mistakes?
He makes Haley look likable.
Are you willing to admit when you failed?
Yeah, that's
Pick
kind of
yourself up
true.
And try to make it better. Because I'm
Don't pull
confident
the
that
plug.
everybody in
I'm
this room
getting
has
so
failed at
sick of
something
this stream.
in your lives. And if you just laid
We
on
need
the
to
floor and
roast
stayed in the
him.
fetal position,
I
you wouldn't be here tonight.
I don't want to listen to this guy any longer.
Everybody in this room has their story.
He keeps
about
saying the
when they were
same thing
challenged.
over and over again. It's
And
like a
that's the
filibuster.
least you
Yeah,
should be able to
that's an
expect from somebody
understatement.
who wants to be president of the United States. All right, I think I could take 2 more.
Finally,
And
we're
I'm
towards
already
the
at
end.
2 hours, so, which is 2 hours more than Donald Trump has done this. So,
Bro, he literally did a town hall like last week.
Good evening, Governor. Thank you for being here. My name is Andrew Moore from Tamworth, New Hampshire. Earlier in your speech, you talked about mistakes you made throughout public service and throughout your life. What would you say, your biggest mistake has been, through your time in public service, and what have you done
is near.
in order to, avoid those mistakes in the future?
well, thank goodness that you just restricted that to public service, because now I don't have to. So I don't have to admit another mistake that I made to Mary Pat. That's good. It's a relief. Look, the biggest mistake I made in public life was that I put a few people into a position of authority at the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey
Continue the counting.
who went on a frolicking detour to divert
Durr
traffic
5 votes
off the George
away. Let
Washington
me
Bridge.
check. Come on, Durr.
Without
You
telling
pull
me,
it off.
without me knowing anything about it, they used
Take
my
care of your
power and
mental
my authority
health.
to play a fraternity prank. And it cost me a lot. It cost me credibility. It humiliated me publicly. And I should have never put those people in that position. It's the biggest mistake I made. And, those people didn't commit a crime, because being stupid in America is still not a crime. But
Well,
let me
it
tell
could
you,
be.
they tried to send them to jail for it, and the Supreme Court overturned it and said it's not a crime. Stupidity's not a crime. But it was a mistake on my part.
We're going to
I
keep
didn't
the stream
see who they
going.
really
Don't
were.
worry. We'll end this thing.
And I've got to be
Nope, it ended.
responsible for that.
Durr's up?
I
Yes!
could never guessed.
Ed Durr has a chance of
tell you.
holding on.
It was the biggest shock of my public life that any of those people would have done what they did. But
You wait until Yes was on top. No, I'm not ending the stream. Chill.
They acted
We're going
in
to keep
my
going.
name,
There's only 2 more questions.
and I put them there.
I'm not ending
And
it.
it was the biggest mistake I made. And it cost me credibility with my people. It cost me humiliation with people that I love and care about, who counted on me to be better. And so what I learned from it is, measure twice, cut once on
Okay,
personnel.
Durham's still at 52.
Personnel is policy.
What's a
More than
buzzing
anything
sound?
else,
That's the stream.
personnel is policy.
Don't quote me, but that's the
People
stream.
you pick,
We're watching.
You must completely trust. It doesn't mean you won't
The
make a
Durham
mistake.
news came through.
You probably won't make one as grave as that. And so it was a mistake. And I've said I was sorry for it at the time. But I think now, it's 10 years ago, believe it or not. And 10 years later, the perspective I have on it
If
is
Christie
the
won't pledge
same
support
as
to
I
Trump as a
had at the
nominee, he
time,
can't debate. Yeah, I
which
wonder.
is, I could have never guessed it, but it was my job to make sure I did. And so, you're going to make those mistakes. I think what it'll help me do if I become president is to not make that same kind of mistake again. And to really not take any position of authority that you give to someone else lightly. Because believe me, I didn't supervise these people every day. They were off in New York City doing their work.
Okay, I gotta
down
read
in
something.
Trenton.
Somebody sent me this, and again, I'm muting the stream for a second, but how many times did Christie use the word small? Does he have a psychological problem with small? Actually, his speech was small and not very good. It rambled all over the place, and nobody had a clue of what he was talking about. Hard to watch, boring, but that's what you get from a failed governor of New Jersey who left office with a 7% approval rating and then got run out of New Hampshire. This time won't be any different. Donald Trump.
I believe
Final
in past
question.
life you were a federal
I
prosecutor.
had to read that real quickly. Somebody
you know what
requested
it takes to build a case, to bring an indictment.
Yep.
If Donald Trump is indicted and you become president, will you pardon him?
Ooh.
Well, I have to tell you the truth. I can't completely answer that until I know what he was charged with and convicted of. Okay, so, but I'm not going to dodge the answer, okay? But I will tell you as a prosecutor, if I believe someone has gotten a full and fair trial in front of a jury of their peers, and especially someone in public life who committed those crimes when they held a public trust, I can't imagine pardoning them. Now,
What a dumbass.
well, look, you know what? Right. I hear what you're saying, and I know what the point is that you're making. But what I would say about what
He can't be in
happened
the
with
debates.
Gerald
Yeah,
Ford and
he's
Richard
just screwed his
Nixon is we
campaign.
lived in a much different time then. Remember, Richard Nixon resigned because he said, we can never let an American president be impeached. And once I knew I was going to be impeached, I impeached myself because I had to put the country first. Since that time, we've had Bill Clinton impeached, and he let it happen and stayed. And we've had Donald Trump impeached twice. All of those acts were putting the person before the country. Richard Nixon put the country before himself. He committed horrible crimes. But in the
Well, I
end,
have my own opinions about that, but
when the moment came for him to decide whether he was going to put the country through an impeachment proceeding,
I have my
and a
opinions
trial
on
in
the
Senate,
impeachment stuff of
he said the
Nixon.
country's more important. And I believe that that's one of the reasons Ford gave him the pardon, was because he didn't put the country through all that. And I think
What?
Ford in part wanted to reward that behavior of putting the country before
You're dumb.
himself, even though he had failed that test any number of times during his presidency, but he left as a result. I didn't see that conduct in Bill Clinton, and I have not seen that conduct in Donald
I
Trump.
hate this.
to put the
Yeah,
country
this is
before
painful.
their own self-interest. And I think that's a key part of deciding whether someone merits a pardon or not. Remember the other thing. By accepting a pardon, the person must acknowledge their
Yeah, I
guilt.
just realized this speech
That's
is longer
why
than the
I'm
Morbius
completely
movie.
in the
The
clear.
movie of Morbius.
Completely in the clear. It will never happen. That will be the shortest phone conversation I will ever have as president. I'll think about you, and I'll pick up the phone and say, Donald, I'm willing to give you a pardon, but you have to admit you were guilty. And he would say, I will never, ever, ever do that. And
You
I'd say,
dumbass.
have a nice day, and hang up. And then I'll be done.
Trump
So,
wasn't rude. Yeah,
I
he
am,
wasn't.
As a practical matter, I am in absolutely no danger, I don't think, of having to make your decision. But I think it's an important question. And it's not an easy one. I'm having some fun with it, but it's not an easy question to answer. And that's why I say to you, I can't give a complete answer
Rap,
to you.
would you
till
rather
I
watch
know
a Snyder Cut?
what
I
was he
would watch a
convicted of,
Snyder
what
Cut
was his
right now,
exact conduct,
if I would.
what's
but
his willingness to accept
it's
responsibility.
4 hours long.
All those things are things that
I would
as
absolutely
a
watch
governor,
a Snyder Cut. It's
and I
4 hours
granted
long.
a number
It's
of
better
pardons
than
as
this.
governor that I had to consider
Morbius.
before I would give a pardon. And I'd need to know all that before I made a final decision, is to admit their guilt and to ask for forgiveness.
Kid,
I
understand
understand
this
this
as a
as a
second.
Catholic. I had a great conversation one time. My wife is really going to cringe that I tell this story. She's already cringing.
Sorry about that. I think the stream cut off for a second.
I was 18 years old, and they had just started in the Catholic Church face-to-face confession. And so I had to go for the first time. Not in the
Why are you
booth,
talking about
not
confession?
with the screen. Not with any even pretense of anonymity. I'm now sitting
What's shorter,
across
this
from
or
my parish
Interstellar?
priest having to confess. So I went through the normal stuff, which
I
you can
think
imagine I
Interstellar's
would have
shorter.
to confess. Took the Lord's name
Let's
in
see.
vain.
Interstellar.
Spoke disrespectfully to my mother and father.
Okay, actually,
Wasn't
this is shorter
kind to my
than
brother,
Interstellar.
who's here tonight also.
What's the point of watching this boring? The memes.
I confessed all those things. But then I asked the priest, I said, Father Lorenzo, I said, do you have to confess premarital sex?
Bro!
And Father Lorenzo looked at me and he said, only if you're truly sorry for it.
What are you? What? Why are you talking about this?
And you're going to try as hard as you can to never do it again. So I listened to him, and then I looked across at him, and he said, anything else? And I said, nope.
Bro!
So I understand the concept
we have gone
of
up
confession
10,000
and taking responsibility.
just from
I
that.
don't know that I'd ever be confronted with the problem that you raised for me, because I don't think he ever will. And that tells you something, too. It tells you something. If you've committed a wrong, if you've made a mistake that rises to the level of criminal conduct,
What did I
jury
just
find you beyond a reasonable doubt unanimously guilty of a crime.
What?
There are mistakes that are made by the jury system all the time, but you'll know in your
Christie.
heart whether you did it or you didn't. And the country has a
Yeah,
right to know.
confessions are supposed to be private
And
in
the admission
Catholicism.
of
I'm an
guilt
actual Catholic.
is
I don't know
not
about
some
this
punishment.
clown.
If you're a public official,
What are you
the admission of guilt is to let the public know what was done in their name on their watch. And then and only then, I think, should you consider somebody in public life for a pardon like that. Before I embarrass my wife any further, I should wrap up. But first, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight.
It's over. Oh my gosh.
This is what our democracy should be about.
Oh gosh, you're gonna spam democracy.
This is what our democracy should be all about. It should be about people who aspire to leadership coming in front of you.
Call for
and
Durr.
hearing about your
Should I?
concerns
Let's see.
and giving their honest
Maybe.
answers and letting the chips fall where they may.
Durr's at 73% victory, according to some rough
And
math.
so
and
I intend
decision
to spend a
desk.
lot of time up here over the next 8 months. And I intend to let you have multiple cracks at me to see what you can find out and let you discover or rediscover for some of you who I am and what I offer.
DeSantis is lost.
Here's what I'll promise you. I promise you I will always show up.
Wrap it.
I will always
Yeah,
take
just
your
rewrap.
questions.
Just wrap it up.
I will always answer them honestly. And I will always listen. We may disagree. In fact, I'm confident we will at times. But you'll never, ever, ever, ever have to wonder.
What did Trump say? He had a funny
Whether I hear you.
statement. Cringer
And
democracy.
whether everything I do,
yeah,
I
I agree.
believe in my heart and in my mind is the best thing for our country. You see, I believe if you bestow on someone the greatest civilian honor that you can bestow on any American, that is to make him or her the President of the United States of America, that the least we owe in return is to work as hard as we can every day without regard to ourselves. There'll be plenty of time for us to care about ourselves when we leave. When you leave office, none of you would begrudge
Crispy can't win
any
Utah.
former president to go out there, live their lives, make money, do what they want to do with their lives, play as much golf as they want, do whatever it is they want to do. But while you're serving, in my mind, every analysis of every problem must start with the question, what in my heart and my mind do I believe is in the best interest of the 330 million Americans that I represent? Not just the ones who voted for me.
I have to watch RFK's
Not just the ones who support me in a public
RFK had a pretty good
opinion poll.
announcement. His voice
Not
is
just
his problem,
the ones I've met, but all the ones that I'll never meet and certainly never get to know, but who we share a common bond. Washington said one time,
Well, you
the reason I
RFK. Well,
continue
you already announced.
to disagree with people is to remind myself I'm an American. George Washington understood that to disagree, to discuss, to argue with each other was truly, purely American. And for the leaders, the job is to take those disagreements and
just
not
keeps
stoke
going.
them,
He literally just keeps
not pour
going.
gasoline on them, but to put your arms around them and try to solve them. Because you're uniquely in a position where you can do that. If you want to know what kind of president I will be, that's the kind
You
of
bring
president I'll
up
be.
George Washington.
I won't
He just won't shut
apologize
up.
for saying what I
What
say
effect
and
would the
believing
third
what I
party have
believe.
who announced it here in the
But
general
I
election?
also
I think there'd be a large
will
third
not
party vote.
condemn
Smaller than
someone
2016,
else
but bigger
for
than
having a different
2020.
opinion. First, I'll just try to convince them they're wrong and try to get them on my side. And if that fails, then it's my job as the executive leader of the government to find a place where we can meet.
Williams already
somewhere
had an
near the
announcement.
middle,
I'm not going to stream that.
so that we can check that box, at least partially resolve that issue, and move on to the next one. Because if we don't, we're going to stay in neutral. And countries who are neutral, by definition, get smaller.
He mentioned again.
Less
He keeps
profitable.
going. Just keep jacking it up.
So
Ed Derwin?
I know
Looks like it.
that with all the cameras, you guys, the reporters, the coverage, and all the rest of it, it can seem like this is a TV show. It's not.
This is a parody.
It's
This is
time for us to
beyond
stop believing
a parody.
that somebody who acts on a TV show is qualified to be president of the United States. These are real problems
Please show results.
that real
Yeah,
serious
we're at
people
40,000 now.
need to solve by putting your interests first, not their own. By taking the mirrors down and opening the windows and looking out and seeing the country that we have, but even more importantly, the country that we want. I have thought in the last few weeks as I was getting ready to make this decision about
It just
one
keeps
moment.
going. It just
I
keeps
allowed
going.
myself to
It never
daydream
ends.
about one moment. And it's the moment
Will you stream Mike Pence
when you
announcement?
walk
Oh,
out
gosh.
in front of the
I
Capitol.
forgot about that.
And you stand there getting ready to take the oath of office. And Ronald Reagan was the first president to do this, to not put it on the back side of the Capitol, but put it on the front. And when you look out, you see the National Mall, the Washington Monument,
End it, please.
the Lincoln Memorial.
How long has it been since he started
the
talking?
Jefferson Memorial.
It's been over 2 hours.
thought
I've
about
been
that
here for 2 hours.
And what I've hoped for
listening.
is that if I ever get the chance to do that, that looking out at the monument
Pence
to
would be better than
those
this.
great
Yeah,
Americans,
it's a town. It's an actual town hall,
that
like
if I
on
have
CNN.
any moment of smallness, of pettiness, of self-aggrandizement or self-consumption, that I remind myself of that view. And that Washington and Lincoln and Jefferson, among others, did not put themselves first.
Shut
They
up,
put
Christie.
the country
Yeah.
first. And
The
that's
Snyder
why
Cut
we're
is better
sitting
than
here
The
tonight
Snyder Cut is
in
actually
Manchester.
good. This is
We're
painful to watch.
freest, happiest people the world has ever seen. That will be what I'll try to be for you if you give me the chance.
Surprised you didn't mention Reagan more.
And the way
Smallness,
I will live every day
yep.
of the presidency, if you give me the honor and privilege to lead you.
There's a CNN
Thanks
town hall for
coming
Christie on June 12th. It's over! Oh my gosh, it's over. We're muting it. We're done. We're done. Oh my goodness. Oh. I thought it would never end. It finally ended. We ended with a cringe counter of 40,000. It's finally over. I like Snyder Cut better than most face snore. Thank you, Jesus. I can't. Oh. I literally threw them. I think I broke my headphones. No, they're not broken. Oh my goodness. I am never listening to Chris Christie ever again. It's not plot twist. It's not over. No, it's over. It's over. We're done. We are not listening to Chris Christie for a while. Ladies and gentlemen, we have finally done it. I am in immense pain for what I just witnessed for an hour or no, 2 hours. Imagine if Romney announces, no. Real American Wait. I'm just joining and it's over. How bad was it? You thought Nikki Haley's town hall was bad. You thought DeSantis' announcement was bad. Those two look like freaking masterpieces. That was -1 out of 10. It's not even 0. It's -1. Edgar's won. Edgar just won. It's over. Let me pull it up. Yep. You see? He's at 60%. It's over. It's done. So we're not going to pay attention to that. We all know how it's going to go. Oh my goodness. Chris Christie's a threat to democracy. I am scarred, I think. What would be more entertaining, this announcement or Batman and Robin? I would rather watch Batman and Robin. Because at least that's so bad it's funny. I still think the worst thing we saw so far was Hanny's town hall. No, that was worse. This was worse. This is below 0. Because at least for the town hall, you had Trump. You had Chris Christie rambling on and on and on. Dur past 2,300. Yeah, so that's why it's over. This was the worst announcement I've ever seen or heard of. Ever. Not just this year. And I thought DeSantis' announcement was bad. Why did he keep rambling on? Wait until Cheney announces. I don't want to listen to Cheney. No. Voters are a threat to democracy. Alright, I think I'm going to end this stream. If you got any more super chats, send them now or forever go in peace. Because I think we're going to end the stream here. So send your super chats now. Because I have no brain cells left. I don't know what to say. You should do a reaction stream to the 2022 Arkansas 4th debate. I heard about that. Is Christie going to simp for Cheney? No, I can't. I physically cannot listen anymore. Listening to Christie has drained all of my energy. Let's see. He loves to hear himself speak. Good night. Yep. So if you got more super chats, send them now or forever go in peace. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, smash the like button down below. Subscribe. Share with your friends. Hit that little bell. Follow the Twitter accounts in the description down below. And of course, join the channel today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm out. I'm completely out of energy. It was certainly a stream of our time. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow because we will be doing a live reaction to Mike Pence's announcement. Maybe Doug Burgum's. To be determined. Thank you so much. Hope everyone has a great rest of their night. We'll see you guys